Funny how your focus will change, and then the things that you think you were going to be focusing on or starting with just end up being completely different after a year or 2 years.
I had to learn to let go of things because they work for a while, and then you got to let go of the things that were once the main focus to focus on something that's bigger.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard.
It's funny. I use this analogy. When you look at business, it's sort of like if you can visualize, that like game they play at the circus where they have a stick and then you're spinning the plates.
Yes.
And so, I always find like business is kind of, you set up a stick and you start spinning the plate. And then that plate's spinning perfectly. Everything is good. But then if you want to progress forward, you now have to go ahead and set up another stick and start spinning the plate. And now you've got to focus on this plate, but you're looking back over here and watching this plate start to fail. So you got to run back to this, start spinning this one. This one's now failing. You got to come back over here. You start working on the third one. That one just totally crashes and fails. So you got to go back to the other two. And it's funny what you start to realize ends up mattering the most and where your focus needs to go when you look at business that way.
It's the way you describe that reminds me of my work as a producer, because that's actually a lot of what I experienced as a commercial producer is that like the spinning the plates are 30 plates behind you.
Yep.
And you got to make sure they're all still going.
For sure. And then you also got to make sure that once you realize that there is a point where you cannot continue going, you got to train somebody else how to spin those plates. And then they'll come in and they'll probably knock the first plate down and you're like, oh my God. So then you got to realize as you're spinning these plates, you got to come over here, show the guy how to spin the plate, continue spinning the other plates, and then hope that this person can now keep the plates going. So it's funny, like it's, when you look at business, it's just this like nonstop, I guess, journey of trying the new things, getting them set up, having them work, realize, okay, are they working or are they not? Moving on to the next thing, because eventually you'll plateau. Like eventually the thing that is now working is going to reach a specific level where you can't make it go any better. You can't generate more revenue. You can't get more clients. So now you have to start spinning that next plate. Totally uncharted territories. You don't know if it's going to work. And now that you're putting all of your focus on this thing, this other thing is starting to fail if you haven't set it up properly. And it's just that never ending juggling match of what plate should you focus on? When do you bring someone on to help you with the plates? When does the person you brought on maybe make plates worse? Or maybe they realize, hey, plates are stupid. Let's just pin this thing to the ground. And like, it's a whole new plan now.
It's cool to hear you articulate that. And I'm excited to have you back on the show, man.
Excited to be back, man.
Welcome. Hello and welcome, everybody. You're tuned into the Creatives Podcast. I'm your host, Ramsey, and I'm joined today by Marc Lafleur. He is an entrepreneur, a founder, an innovator, an athlete, and much more. He can be summarized with this one statement: play hard games, win cool prizes. And does he ever play hard games? Which we're going to get into. Back on episode 25, we dove into your origins, your mindset, and your philosophy on building a meaningful life through intensity, discipline, and self-awareness using business, sports, and creativity. And moving forward, our exploration is continuing, Marc. 2 years later, almost 2 years after, and there's been many evolutions in both of our lives. There's a big announcement from Marc today, which he just told me the other day, and I was freaking out. I was like, this is crazy to see. So stick around. He's going to tell us about this massive endeavor he just finished up, and it'll be public to the world soon. At the time of recording, it's still a secret. So he's going to dive into that experience, what that meant, and you're going to want to stick around because it's quite cool. So thrilled to have you back, man.
It's juicy.
It's very juicy.
It's juicy.
Welcome.
Good to be back, man. Very happy. Love the evolution of the studio also.
Mm-hmm. A lot has changed since we last spoke. There's been business evolutions in Pano Media. There's been evolutions in the studio. I'm now a 50% owner of Midnight Hour Studios as a business and also the property itself. So it's a cool materialization of effort and consistency, because this is something I started in my bedroom of my parents' house. So to have it materialize into a space that can be shared where we can collaborate, it's really cool. So I'm thrilled to have you here. It's actually the first podcast we record here since owning the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm honored.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I need to do this justice now.
Yeah.
I love, it's funny because I love, I always love every time we talk. It's very similar because you're always moving things forward. It's always hard to be around because the majority of people are always in the same spot, bitching about the same things. Like, I'm going to do this one day, I'm going to do that one day, and they never move things forward. And I love every time that you and I have a conversation because you've always moved the needle forward. There's always something more exciting happening. It's always pushing. And I think that's like one of the keys of life, right? Is surround yourself with those types of people.
It's cool. Yeah, the surrounding yourself is something I learned greatly when I joined a run club.
Okay.
You surround yourself. I just said, oh, cool, there's a run club down the road. Let me go check it out. Next thing you know, I'm signing up for a half marathon because I was around people that were doing Ironmans and full marathons and ultra marathons. And you're just like, you just end up doing what, your environment is also doing. So
yeah, running is, I'm always wondering, I'm like, am I getting older or is running getting cooler? Because it does seem like everybody now is talking about running, and running is the new hot thing. And it's obviously hitting me like hard. So I think it's funny. I see so many, I've just now on social media. So it's, December 2025 and these memes just start making their way around the algorithm, right? So you kind of hear the same thing. The one that everyone's talking about now is like, oh my God, imagine being upset about the pressure that you asked for. Like everyone's talking about that. Like it's a privilege to be stressed about the pressure and the life that you wanted. Well, the other one that I'm seeing right now is that you've never met an endurance runner who is not successful at life. Because endurance running of any capacity requires, at least in my opinion, I think why people really enjoy running is like there's no barrier, first of all. Anybody can get into it. But it really is just like a you versus you battle. And it's one of those things that it is guaranteed success, in my opinion. I think that anybody can hit any running goal they want as long as they just are willing to put the time in. It's inevitable. If you can just continuously show up for however long you want. If you want to run a 5K, maybe you got to show up for a month. If you want to qualify for Boston, maybe you got to show up for 3 years. But if you just keep showing up, you are guaranteed to get success. So it really attracts a type of individual who plays the long game and is just disciplined, willing to do the boring stuff day in and day out. And I find that's why these run communities are growing up so much and just glowing up, because it's just attracting that type of person who's like, I'm down to do something committed to myself for the long haul. And then when you meet someone like that, it's just like real recognize real, right? People just get excited about it.
And then there's the power of the collective, because you're then bouncing energy off each other in those kind of groups. But it is true. I think it became more popular because of, social media also making some satire out of it. Then the actual run clubs made community. And then you have apps like Strava that help you, like in a very amusing way, track your stats and share your stats, and have I have like friends on Strava that I'm not even friends with anywhere else on any other platform, or just friends on Strava. So the parallels between business growth, endurance running is very real. I think the last time we spoke, I was kind of getting into it. I wasn't taking it super seriously, but I've done 2 races since then, and I know you've done some crazy stuff, which I want to dive into.
I think the thing with running too is that it's like the example of the perfect storm. Like the factors that have made running blow up are that the pandemic.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, once again, couldn't go to the gym, which was insane. So a lot of people started going outside and they started running, and that was the thing that they could do to stay healthy. So you've got that sort of, growth of running for people just trying to maintain their fitness. Then you've got the rise of like the running influencer, right? So you look at like the Nick Bears of the world, who essentially completely changed the face of running from being this sort of like, you have to be this super skinny, like undesirable body type thing that makes it so that a lot of people were like, well, I don't want to run because I don't want to look like that. You had to make that commitment. But now you got the rise of the hybrid athlete, where people are like, oh shit, I can run far and look good. And it brought in this entire new era, or this entire new cohort, in my opinion, of athletes into the sport, and then continue with the rise of the running influencer. You then couple that with, this sort of desire for like the IRL movement. People want to now get together in real life. They want to get offline. They want to find a place to commute, to find that connection. And then now you kind of look at it too, where there's this like irony where like run clubs have kind of become like the new Tinder. So like now it's like a lot of people are joining run clubs because it's like, wow, I don't want to go find my future partner at the bar. I'm going to go find my future partner at the run club. So you've got the pandemic, you've got the rise of the running influencer, the hybrid athletes, the IRL connection, and then enter the social platforms. Now it's, to your point, Strava did an amazing job of kind of giving you that online social status based on your running. It's like, I think it's going to continue to rise. And I think the new thing right now is the rise of the sort of like indie running apparel brand, like the fashion running brands that are just blowing up and taking over social media. So it's such a cool phenomenon, to be honest, because I think it was something that we were able to pay attention to in a time where, we understand business, we can see what's up. They should do case studies on what happened with running starting during COVID up until now and where it's going to go.
And it's such a primitive activity, right? Humans, our bodies are meant to run. We would hunt our prey and stalk our prey for weeks at a time. And that's why running, it work. Like, I mean, understandably, there's some people that just can't run, but majority of people that can walk can run.
Yep.
And I think for me, the biggest value it brought was it gave me a reason to go outside, which was great in the wintertime. And it gives you something to work towards. It gives you a purpose, and it gives you really amazing satisfaction, because every run is a journey.
Yes.
You get out there, you start moving, you're like, fuck, my knees hurt, my ankles hurt, I don't want to be here. It's -10 outside. Why am I doing this? And then like 2Ks in, you just start getting in a flow. You're like, okay, now I'm bouncy. And then a good song comes on and you're just like flowing. And you've done, to my understanding, since the last time we spoke, was it your first marathon, or had you already done a marathon at that point? I know you've done a marathon, if not multiple, an ultra marathon, which is like the craziest ultra marathon in the planet. Can you please tell us about that experience and how it paralleled your business?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we definitely went 0 to 100 pretty quick on the running thing. I always say like, it's a blessing and a curse, but I have a bit of an obsessive personality. So as soon as something kind of latches on into my brain, it's going to become a problem in our life. So I was just winding down the motorsport career at that time, because it would have been 2023.
Yep.
And I'm like, I need to find something else. Like, there's got to be something else that I do that is outside of business that allows me just to like go all in on it, but doesn't use my brain in the same way. And the YouTube algorithm just caught me in a vulnerable moment. It was like, let me show this guy a marathon. And I remember I clicked on it. Started? Pretty much, yeah. I remember I actually think it was Nick Bear, and he was there was like some cool video about him training for, I don't know, a marathon or an Ironman or something. And once again, the power of an influencer, right? Like, just fantastic content, kind of broke it all down. And then I was like, this running thing seems kind of cool. And so for like a full week, my wife, so Irma, can automatically tell when there's a new thing on the horizon, because she'll hear one YouTube video and then she'll hear for like the next 7 days, just nonstop stream of videos about this particular thing.
Yeah.
And during that sort of week, it, of course, as you continue to go down the rabbit hole, you get more and more intense. So, like marathons are cool, but what's this whole ultra marathon thing? And what ended up happening was actually, I started seeing these videos about these ultra marathons, and the thing that stood out to me there was that it was like a bunch of old people. Like, I saw like a lot of old people in these ultra marathons. Like, I'm talking like 50, like 55 years old, just crushing these ultra marathons.
Wow.
And I had just come, we sold the company. I was doing boxing at the time, not competitive at all, like just casual. Like, we did like sparring in the morning, but 5 days a week. So like, we were committed to it.
And you had pretty good cardio, I'd imagine, if you're doing boxing 5 days a week.
Well, yes, for sure. And it's funny because getting into the boxing side, and once again, like, well, it wasn't like I was doing fights or anything. It was just like, in the morning, instead of going to the CrossFit gym, I started going to a boxing gym. But the thing that I realized is that I could only take it so far. Like, there was a ceiling, and for me, it wasn't going to be a scenario where I was going to start doing amateur fights. I remember I did like, a year of just the boxing class, and coach was like, hey, like, you thinking about doing like a charity match or an amateur fight? I'm like, are you fucked? Like, I'm 30 years old. Like, I'm not going to start doing fights now. Right. And that was actually, an interesting wake up call, because I realized I'm like, oh, there's no future for me at all here. Like, I can't keep climbing the ladder. There's no ultimate victory. With motorsport, it was like, oh man, I could get this like little dinky car and I can start going to the track. And then one day maybe I can get like GT4 cars or GT3 cars. Like, there's like this really high level thing that I could sink my teeth into for a long period of time. And when I started looking at like what I wanted my next thing to be, something I could just kind of like, use to distract my mind from business while, most of my mind goes towards business, it was important for me to find something that I could do at like a really high level. Like, if I stuck with this for like 5 years, what could be the highest level I achieve? And I'm getting older, I'm 35 now. And, I care deeply about trying to stay athletic and move my body, but like, I'm not going to be able to go compete in CrossFit. Like, I'm past my age at that. I'm not going to do boxing. I'm not going to go play football. I can't do volleyball. I'm not a basketball guy. Like, my options for doing things at a very, very high level athletically were starting to come down a bit. And it wasn't until I saw these old dudes running, and I started doing a bunch of research and realizing that like, wow, like, your endurance, if built properly at a young age, and like, let's say young for running, you can carry that into old age. And I started just like imagining what life would be like as like a 50-year-old I don't even care if it's competing or not, but like, are you kidding me? Like I could be at 50 and like travel the world doing these like ridiculous adventures, running like 100 miles through the desert or like running like 100 miles around a mountain at 50. Like that to me is winning at life. And so I think between the idea of getting excited because you can like try to run marathons very fast, like that's like a high intensity thing that you can really train for and move all the variables around. Like it's interesting, it's exciting, you can sink your teeth into it, but also the longevity that could come by starting now, and this ability to fulfill a life of adventure over a long period of time. That's kind of what got me into the whole running thing. So essentially I'd done my first marathon, which was the Vancouver Marathon. And that's really what kicked all of it off. Then from there, I probably did like, I don't know, maybe like 6 or 7 marathons before doing my first ultra. And the way that I've kind of broken up my training is that I'll do the first half of the year, I'll try to race marathons. So I'll just try to get my marathon time down, and I'll put like a 16-week block together to try to do that while we're out in Austin. And then the second half of the year, I would sort of transition into ultras. And it's like, in my opinion, I think I have a pretty good understanding of the difference between both of them now.
I just want to distinguish. So I know a marathon's 42.2 kilometers. What categorizes an ultra marathon?
Yeah, so technically anything above a marathon is considered an ultra marathon. So like if you do
43K is
I
an
mean,
ultra?
Technically, but I would say like in the circles, it's
Probably
like,
not socially.
so, 100 miles. 100 miles is like, that's like the thing when you're going around yelling around about doing an ultra marathon.
It's 100 miles.
I mean,
Which is what, 120 some K?
170.
Oh my
Yeah, 170, give or take, you know.
It's-
But yeah, and so just to be on that same page, like, you know, I did my first ultra was 50 kilometers.
Okay.
Then I did 100 kilometers, and then I just recently did 100 miles. So technically anything above 42 kilometers is an ultra marathon. But I think like the more popular ultra marathons, like the ones that, you know, if you're going around, like I said, just being like, hey, I did an ultra, it's usually 100 miles. But now like, it's just like, yo, people can't chill, right? Like, it's like now you've got like these 240 mile marathons that are ultra marathons that are considered like the norm nowadays. People talk about it is like is 100 miles the new marathon? I'm like, guys, just like chill out. Like, let us have a win. You know what I mean? So this past year, I find there's been so many people that have been following, like, you know, the Moab 240 is like this 240 mile desert race. There's like the Cocodona, which is like this 200 mile plus race. And it seems like the sport is gaining a lot of popularity. And these are just like absolute savage animals. Like these are people that I think anybody who does running, you can really see the gap between the weekend warriors and like the pros. So I consider myself like a weekend warrior. Like I train, it's a secondary thing for me. I really care deeply about it. But when you look at the delta between, hey, I've been training for 2 or 3 years, like dedicating, like running every day. Well, you know, like whatever, like let's say like 90 kilometers a week.
Yeah.
That's still like weekend warrior status compared to these people that are out here running like 230 marathons, 240 marathons. And even like the Boston Marathon now, pre-COVID, it was, if you could run a 3-hour marathon, you could qualify for Boston. And that is an incredibly aggressive target. Like a 3-hour marathon is fast. And now it's like 249.
Jeez.
It's like, I'm like, who's just out here casually running a 249 marathon? This is like a lot of progress required to kind of get to this point. So the sport, and the reason for that is just that like they essentially, as more people apply, then the time comes down, right? You have to essentially qualify for it. So the sport's growing in popularity. And I guess that was just a really long-winded way of saying that. It gets me jacked up because I think I could be an old dude running around mountains and stuff at like 50 years old.
That is peak life. To be a fit adult, I found, at least in my life, is a superpower. I know you've said this, when you walk into a room and you're in shape, you feel good. You command a presence. You almost, it gives you a confidence to know that, like, I mean, subtly, I know I can jump higher than you, I can run faster than you, and not that changes anything, but it gives this kind of like playful confidence, at least in me. And for the people who may not understand the running journey, or if they're early in their running journey, can you tell us about the state of mind, like the reason you keep going back to it? What is it about the mind state that it puts you in the training and in the competing that is just so like addicting almost?
Yeah, well, you know what? First of all, you say, you know, walking into a room being like, I can jump higher and whatever, it might not mean much. I think it means everything. And I think we need to normalize that and bring that back. And I do think that was actually another pillar in why running has been taking off, because now it's cool to be healthy again. Like now it's actually cool to care about what you eat. It's cool to be fit. It's cool to get your blood tested. It's cool to take ownership of your health. And I think we need to normalize that. Like, what do you mean? Like at the end of the day, the rawest form of you having confidence is your physical ability, your ability to be a competent human, like someone who can actually do stuff with your body. And we've neglected that for so long. We've gone ahead and normalized that if you care about your health and your body, you're like this like crunchy or this bodybuilder who's like obsessive. And it's like, no. Like I think just being a strong person who can run far or lift heavy or do whatever, that's cool. Like you should want that. Mm-hmm. And I do absolutely feel like it's a superpower and an advantage. People right off the bat who have, insecurities or confidence issues, I mean, if you're not already going to the gym, that's like the number one cure, which is right there. If you can get the discipline to realize that if you go for like a month, you will feel 10 times better than you do now. And then when you do walk into an area and you look around, and once again, I think it is becoming cool to be healthy. But if you feel like you are the fittest person there, or not even the fittest person, but you were just comfortable in your own skin and comfortable with the work that you're putting in, of course you're going to hold your head higher. You're going to walk with your chest. You're going to like feel better about things. So I love that. I'm starting to see more people get into that. So I like that a lot. In terms of running, like we talked about it with the mindset, I think running is a metaphor for life. Mm-hmm. I think on the macro and on the micro, I think we talked about it at the beginning. On the macro, it's beautiful to realize that the transaction is very overt. Like the transaction is very much there. Put the work in, you will get the result. I think with business and other things, whether it's business, money, relationships, anything, it's a little bit more covert. Like you don't necessarily know, right? The difficulty in being a founder or going after something is that you are going to do the work, but you do not know if you will get the result. So there's like kind of components to that. And that's really where the stress comes from in business. But with running, it is the ultimate, like the cards are on the table. Do the work, you will get the result. So anybody who is willing to do work always gravitates towards running because they have a guarantee of having that success. So cool. I think that's the macro of it. So you want to run like 1% of runners, no problem. Just train for 5 years. Guaranteed. You train for 5 years, I promise you'll be 1% of runners. No questions. Some people might do it faster. Some people might take a little bit longer, but just go through the progressions. That's the macro. On the micro, you brought it up earlier, like every day. Okay. Today, you have a battle against yourself. You said you're going to run this week. You said you were going to run at 8 a.m. in the morning. Did you wake up and go do that? There's a micro battle. If you do what you said you were going to do, you are now a better person just that morning. And then you start your run. Well, then what happens? Oh, my knees hurt and my legs hurt. And there are people who will quit then and there. But then there are other people who will continue to push through that. And then what happens? It goes away. And it's a metaphor for life, right? Everything that you are required to do is going to be faced with a little bit of resistance and discomfort. But that doesn't mean you bitch out and say, no, I'm not going to do it. You just keep pushing through and guess what? It gets better. Mm-hmm. That is a micro life lesson. And then you get to the next thing. You brought up music. Something comes and a new force, a new variable that you didn't expect now not only makes it bearable, it makes it enjoyable, right? I gave an example. This is probably a little bit long-winded, but I had a run. This is actually this time last year, and it was the first time I actually got under an hour and a half on a half marathon. I was really pushing towards that, and it was just a casual run. And it was in December last year. Mm-hmm. This is just a good example of this, but it was in December last year, and I was just going through my routine. I felt like shit. I didn't want to go do my long run. I'm like, ugh, like I just didn't want to do it. I was tired, but I went and did it anyway. So I drove my ass down, and I'm in the car. It's cold out, and I start my run. And I was like, I'll do 5K easy and just warm up, and then I'll do the last, 16K. I'll push it. And I've never run faster than an hour and a half. I had no expectation of running faster than an hour and a half. I, especially considering I was going to do 5K slow, had no idea this was going to happen. And then I get through the 5K and I start pushing on the 6K. And I'm like, oh, I feel kind of good. Mm-hmm. Start pushing on the 7K. I'm like, holy shit, like I'm feeling really good. 7K, 8, 9, 10. And just absolute slog to get through it. And I ended up running the fastest half marathon I ever did. It was just a long run. It wasn't a thing. Mm-hmm. And it was just another reinforcement that this never would have happened. I just had the best run of my life. And it never would have happened if I didn't wake up that morning and go do the run. It would have been so easy for me to say, I'm not going to go do that run. But the fact that the discipline was there to go and continue to do the thing I said I was going to do gave the opportunity for greatness to happen. Greatness wasn't planned. It wasn't like that was the day that I'm going to go do a PR. It wasn't like, oh my God, we're carb loading and getting everything prepared for this. It was just by the virtue of sticking to the plan that their door opened for something great to happen. So back to the kind of idea of like the macro is just put the work in, you'll get the results. The micro being like waking up, like, telling that bitch version of yourself, no, like we're going to go do what we said we were going to do. And then just having that daily lesson of, hey, guess what? Okay, it wasn't as bad as you thought. It doesn't hurt as bad. I just had to push through that. And then you get this beautiful, kind of moment where this thing that you didn't want to do in the morning and that was hurting you a little bit earlier is now blissful because the song came on. And then who might know, maybe you just have the best thing that has ever happened to you fitness wise or run wise because you went through those motions. You go and have that. That's a life lesson. That is something that you can now see that going and sticking to the plan, discipline, pushing through hard things clearly leads to good things happening. And I find you do that every single day. Like you're just gonna be a better person. Mm-hmm. So for anybody looking to run, like that to me is what it's all about. I don't think it's actually about putting one foot in front of the other. I think it's the life lessons that come from doing something and sticking with it that just so happens to be incredibly difficult and gross. And people don't really necessarily love doing it all the time, but if you do it, beauty comes out of it. So yeah, I mean, like that's what I get out of running. At least that's what I have been getting a lot out of running.
And for me, my motivation a lot of time is the most glorious pastry and coffee at the end of a run. Huge motivator because I love eating and I love coffee. I very much like how you view it as a transaction. And especially because you said in business, it's not as black and white. Your inputs don't equal predictable outputs almost ever. So with running, like seeing it as a transaction of like, I put in the work, I get the results. That kind of, that should be enough of a, inspiration to just do it and start. And then there's the resistance. That's also another parallel journey. And I'm learning in light of resistance, you're often on the right track, not go the other way. Resistance is a good thing. Resistance means it's like in the video game, you got to fight the bad guys. That means you're on the right path. If you're not fighting bad guys, you're not getting to the end of the game. And the confidence building, like consistently showing up, doing something you said you were going to do, committing to it, and then doing that again builds the confidence. So I know we've been circling a lot about running, but I know it's been a huge part of your life. It's been a huge part of my life. And it's not an accident that as business owners, we are finding a lot of energy coming from this. And fitness, you see podcasters are jacked now. You see comedians have big biceps and they're all in good shape. Like, no, like it's not, it's uncool to be out of shape in a way. And it's a harsh pill to swallow. I don't think it needs to be as difficult as you may think. And you said on our last episode, it doesn't matter the distance. It's, a half marathon to you could be as satisfying as a 3K run to someone else. The distance doesn't matter. It's like the effort.
Yeah, that's a really important one, right? And I always hate because like I was very fortunate. I did like 100-mile ultra. So I'll be talking to people and it's always the thing where like we're having a conversation. It's like, yo, I just did this ultra. And then I always hate when people are like, oh, I just did a 5K, and they always feel like they're going to need to say that. Like, oh, I just did a 10K or I just did a half because I said I did 100. And that's the worst because I think the most beautiful thing about running is that take the distance out of it. It's perceived effort. That's actually what running is. And your 0 is the same as my 0. Your 100% is the same as my 100%. There will come a point when I'm trying to run a marathon and I reach my 90% mark. And that is what the run is all about. When I hit 90%, am I willing to push through and get that 91%? And once you get to 91, am I willing to go to 92? And that might be at a different point for me in a specific race, but the person running their first 5K, it doesn't matter what pace or what distance, they will reach their 90%. And their 90% is the exact same as my 90%. Mm-hmm. And the question then becomes, are you going to push through that the same way I will, or will I do it the same way you will, or will you just do it in general? It doesn't matter what the distance is. It doesn't matter. We are feeling that same thing every single time. So that's the thing I love the most about running, is that anybody can start at anywhere and get the exact same benefits that a person who ran 100 miles did. The same exact challenge, the same exact feelings, the same exact sense of accomplishment that somebody who runs 100 miles gets. It's not the distance. It's that, ooh, I got to 99%. Like, damn, that's what you care about. Like, I got to 99%. And someone running 5K could do the exact same thing. So I do love that a lot about endurance and running, is just like, think about it more of like, what are you laying out there? Like, what are you leaving on that field or on that track or whatever it is? And that's where you should get the motivation from.
And that is an extremely important point in all of this. It's the relative effort is the most valuable thing from it. So
it's where the lessons come from. That's where the lessons come from, is the relative effort.
And the reality is, like, the longer you do it, the more acquainted your muscles and your cardio gets to it. So that's why the 90% just moves further and further. And without even realizing it, like, before you know it, your 90% is at 15 kilometers in instead of 4. But
exactly. Well, I was just going to say, like, why do you think, like, why is it that when people do 5K, they want to do 10? And when they do 10, they want to do 21? It's because they're chasing that 90%. They're not chasing a distance.
The 90% just moves.
It does, exactly. Yeah. It just moves. So, I love it. It's been a good thing. I think it just attracts the same type of person, like the type of person who believes in the world of, if I work hard, good things will happen. Anybody who can look at themselves in the mirror, anybody who has like a victim personality, anybody who thinks the world is unfair and it should be fair, anybody who thinks that, anybody who has found success got it through handouts, or anybody who feels like there are specific advantages, they'll never go do running. They'll never go do running, because it's the ultimate mirror. The only person to blame in a run is you. It's not the wind. It's not the rain. It's not the gels you did. It's not the anything. It's you. That's it. And anybody who likes that, anybody who's like, I want my success to be 100% determined by me and what I put into it, will always gravitate towards running. It just so happens that entrepreneurs think that way a lot. And anybody really who just wants to find success in life just gravitates towards that.
It's true. I do suggest just give it a try. 1 kilometer. It's all you got to do to understand what we've been speaking about these last 10 minutes here. Like, just give it a try and see what mind states come of it. And I promise you, we'll see you at the next race.
It's funny, you were talking about the Hornet guys. So I love those guys so much, Madi and Jeremy.
Hornet is an energy gel, by the way.
Yeah, so Hornet is an energy gel. So one of the things, I guess, like, I obviously do a lot of running, and so I take a lot of gels. And I've been looking to move away from the gels. A lot of them are like synthetic, different types of sugars and energy that they put into these gels. I guess a little step back is what you'll realize is, if you do start running, nutrition is incredibly important. And once you get past like what you're eating on the day to day, you'll start to realize that like how you fuel in a run matters a lot, and how many carbs you're getting in. But then once you go even a layer deeper, you start to realize, like, where are those carbs? Where's that energy actually coming from? And everybody starts with your typical gel, like your typical gels that are out there. They're at all the expos, and they're fine, like, honestly. But I look at it as like jet fuel. It's kind of like just pure sugar and not necessarily good for you, but great for performance. So because I run so much, I have to take in a lot of gels. I've been actually looking to move away into something just more natural. So I've been taking like a lot of honey. And it's just a great source of energy, right?
Straight honey.
Straight honey.
You bring the jar with you?
I always had to figure out different ways to bring it. Yeah. I had like these spoons and stuff. Anyway, so I guess we'll talk more about it at the end. But I met these 2 kids, Jeremy and Madi, from Hornet Energy, and they literally just realized kind of a similar thing. And they do gels for runners that are just honey, straight honey, and that works really, really well for me. So, but they're kids that, you look at them and you can see they're like getting in their running journey too. So that I think it was the Montreal Marathon. They're like, yo, I'm gonna hit my 3:30, and I'm like, I can already see their path. Like, they're gonna be like, okay, now I want to hit like a 3:20. Now I want to hit a 3:15. Now I want to hit a 3. So they're just doing some cool stuff. Just brings that founder group in.
And for anyone wondering, like 3:30, that's 3 hours, 30 minutes. Basically, any marathon under 5 hours is fast, but under 4 is really fast. Mid 3s towards 3, you're elite runner. So just for the people that may not know what that 3:30 kind of statement means. So, and something about Hornet Energy, we'll get into that later on. But for now, Mark, the last time we spoke, you were kind of beginning your exploration of AI. You were dabbling in the world of pro level motorsports and winning a championship casually. And as we know now, fitness was becoming a massive endeavor, but we haven't spoken in a while. So tell me about these last 2 years. Since when we spoke last time, you had just left True Local, you just sold the business and kind of moved on. So what has been on your radar consuming your time and energy in these last 2 years?
Yeah, so I guess last time on the episode of Marc Lafleur, where we were
episode
at
25.
Yeah. So pretty much like I was really fortunate. We built True Local, sold it for $16.7 million in 2020. And then I was on a contract to oversee the transition to the new CEO for 2 years. So during that phase was really just about making sure everything was good, handed off well. And that was kind of like a point in my life where I was able to start taking up these side quests. And I realized it actually makes me a better operator. Like I truly believe that, you know, in the True Local days, and anybody who's a first-time founder is going to relate to this, but there is nothing else you can focus on. And you can't, because the level of horsepower required to fight back against the inertia of mediocrity. And I know that sounds dramatic, but you got to realize that the system is set up for mediocrity. Every single thing around you, every single interaction, every single system, every single thing that's going on is meant, and it provides this incredible gravity towards being mediocre or below average. And any first-time founder knows that for you to break past that, it is just these absolute ungodly effort requirement to push back against that inertia. And so when you're in your first time business, that's all you can focus on. You don't have the leverage, you don't have the capital, you don't have the knowledge, the skills, the experience to necessarily only be able to work smart. You actually have to work hard, just straight up, to kind of push back against that. And that was where life was like for True Local. I never would have changed a thing at all. That was a beautiful moment in time. But what I realized coming out the other side was that I always said, like, damn, you know, we built a $20 million company when I was miserable, working my ass off, not able to just explore like another outlet for some of the energy that I had. It had to just go all in. And sometimes there's a lack of efficiency there, right? Lots of horsepower, but it's being, the results of that horsepower might be like 70 or 80% just because there's a lot of inefficiencies going around. The thing that I realized after the company sold was that I actually am a way better version of myself when I have one other thing that is completely unrelated to business.
And that's the side quest you mentioned.
It's a side quest, and it's just something that I find allows me to kind of let like the literal physical energy out. And that's where I kind of just call these things these little side quests. And I think that I've been trying to, architect my life in a way that these side quests also somehow benefit the work side as well. Because at the end of the day, I call them side quests because they're never going to be my main thing, ever. They're never going to be priority number one. Business for me is always priority number one. It's the thing I'm good at. It's the thing I enjoy. It's how I express my creativity. I've been fortunate to find success in it. So that is always going to be priority number one. But the side quest just kind of allowed me to find and explore different versions of myself that I then actually think have lent well towards the business side. So in a way, it started with motorsport. So we picked up the motorsport stuff.
That was the first like big side quest.
That was the big side quest. That was the one. And that stemmed from the fact, like, we never had a car growing up. I loved cars. I love supercars. Like anybody. Like, I think if you ask like 60% of founders why they wanted to make money and get rich, because they want to buy sick cars. I think if there was like an ultimate tally for the things that motivated the most entrepreneurs, it was like sick cars.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did that and realized that, okay, well, what's the highest level we can do, right? Like, how far could we take it? And the thing that happened with motorsport was that it really opened up a lot of doors in the business world. First of all, I understood the business of motorsport in a very interesting way. I understood the power of relationships. I also understood how fast big deals can happen. Like six-figure deals, six-figure sponsorships can happen over dinner. And once again, coming from a founder who always just had to like try to tilt the universe in his favor, like literally like try to lasso this thing and drag it so hard, so much resistance. There's also like an easy way that you can do it too. And you just never saw that outside of it. So that was good. It also did this really fantastic thing of like networking. So it's really good to be in motorsport in terms of having an event where you can bring people and have them connect and interact with one another. There's a lot of money in motorsport. So that was kind of like the whole motorsport thing. The running side of it came in when I decided that I was like, okay, it's time to get back into business. So when I had that 2 years, it was like, okay, I can really just explore this motorsport thing. The thing with motorsport though, is that it does require it to be a priority number one, in my opinion, at least to do it well.
To compete, actually, you have to put in the time. It's like any sport. The training, like the time, like how much time you put in directly correlated to your result.
For sure. And with running, I can always do that as an afterthought. Like I consider myself a weekend warrior because of it. It's always a thing where like first thing in the morning.
From your front door too.
Yeah, I don't have to think about it. I just, whereas with motorsport, you got to get your car to the track. You service the car. You got to get to the races. You got to be on the simulator 2 hours a day. There's a lot that goes into it. And so when my motorsport thing was starting to be like, okay, there's like some pretty sweet business opportunities going on in the world right now. And there is no way I could do both of these. And that decision is going to be made 10 times out of 10. Like I got to go business versus the side quest. So that was easy. So put motorsport to the side and just decided to go kind of all in on this AI thing. So this would have been,
was that
December.
DV8? That was the first endeavor into AI.
Yeah. So what ended up happening was that in December 2022, my contract ended at TrueLocal to oversee the transition. And this was a month after ChatGPT came out. And so I'm a non-technical founder, right? So I can't code. I couldn't at least. And everything I've ever wanted to bring to life, I always had to work through other people. So if I had a vision, well, I had to work with a designer to actually bring it to life. And if I had a product idea, I had to work with a developer to bring it to life. And immediately when early ChatGPT came out, you could kind of just really quickly extrapolate, like a lot of people did, and realize that like, wow, this is going to let individuals do a hell of a lot more than they ever could before. Too many people are focused on going deep on things like, oh, I can do 10x my marketing. It's such a bad way of looking at AI. I would rather people look at now I can do so many more things that I couldn't do before. And it's actually quite frustrating. There's two things that are really frustrating. Number one is that me as a non-technical founder, I was always looked at as like a bad asset. He's a jack of all trades. He knows a little bit about a lot of things, but he's not an expert at anything. And that's the same to this day. I know enough to be dangerous about marketing. I can run Facebook ads. I know Google ads. I know SEO. I know how to onboard influencers. I know how to do, PRDs for development. I know how to A/B test things. I know how to recruit. I know how to, raise capital. I know how to deal with the income statements. I know a lot about business, but I'm not an expert in any of those. There's always going to be somebody who is deeper in those specific areas. And that was always considered a bad thing. And I thought it was the other way around. I thought it made me a great founder. I was really good at being able to understand what the business needs and then go find the person who's an expert at that. And now the narrative is completely different. Everyone's like, oh, no, you don't want to be a specialist. Nobody wants a specialist. AI allows everybody and all founders to do a lot of everything. I'm like, I've been saying this forever. So like, I'm glad that now as a non-technical founder, a couple things are happening. First of all, there's like the rise of the non-technical founder. So now if you're a non-technical founder, but you're just a better business person or a problem solver, AI is perfect for you. And so anyway, what ended up happening is ChatGPT came out and I kind of started seeing this dynamic shift. Yeah. And I realized, okay, I want to, I'm ready to get back into my next business. Like I'm ready to kind of go all in on this. And it seemed like with TrueLocal, we built it to $20 million.
TrueLocal, for people who don't know, brief overview of what that business was.
Yeah, so TrueLocal, we launched it in 2015. It was an online meat subscription box. Okay. People could go online and then they could look at meat products from local suppliers in the area, order it, build a box, have it delivered to their home. So we built that over 5 years. And the thing with Canadian entrepreneurship, it's not a bad thing at all. It's just an observation is that we all think very small as first-time founders. And the reason for that, like we had no money growing up. Like I had holes in my shoes, right? So the idea of like $1 million to me was like life-changing, as it should be. But because of that, it's very difficult for a first-time founder to think past 5 years. I could never imagine doing anything for longer than 5 years at that time because like I was living a life of scarcity. Like I didn't have money. Like we had like holes in our ceiling. Like me and my wife literally like even 4 years into TrueLocal had like a hole in our ceiling. Like people don't understand what it's like to try to build those businesses. And what ends up happening is that we sold at $20 million. Huge win, life-changing money, would never have changed a thing. But in the grand scheme of entrepreneurship, businesses start to grow their value at year 5. Like year 5 is the price of entry, right? Like getting to year 5 typically is like the price of entry. And then businesses get really big year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And so because I was a first-time founder and I couldn't really think past that, I look at it where 5 years is now the bare minimum that I want to be doing something before it even starts. So the thing I'm trying to get across here is that Now that I'm going into the second time around, and I don't recommend first time founders think about it this way necessarily. I'm just saying that as you've kind of gone through it now on the other side, I want to do something for like 10 plus years. Like I want to really build something that is going to start to accumulate its value over the long haul. And AI seemed like the good bet on that. And so essentially in March of 2023, they released, OpenAI released the API, which allowed you to start building different applications and products and services using the model that powers ChatGPT. And that was like game over for us. That was like, I was already in on it, you know, in December when it was really exciting and this new thing had kind of come out. And as soon as you started seeing that, like, well, wait a minute, this is going to be an API thing where we can take that same power and now build our own products on top of it. That was like, this is a no-brainer. And depending on how deep you want to go, in the early days, we faced so much criticism. Like the ultimate condescending thing you could tell a founder at the time is, oh, you're just building a GPT wrapper. That's what everyone used to say. You're building a GPT wrapper. It's not even a new product. You're just building something on top of ChatGPT. Like you're building something on top of that. And it was such a joke to me because I'm like, well, like that's the majority of products out there. Like the majority of products are built on top of some other technology.
Yeah.
And at that time, the belief was that the only value that was coming from AI was training the models themselves. You had to own your own proprietary model. And it was just, in my opinion, incredibly obvious how that was not the case. You've got these companies that are raising hundreds of billions of dollars to develop the best possible AI systems, and they are making it available to everybody for pennies. The cost to use the model is getting significantly cheaper while the models are getting significantly better. In what world would anybody with half a brain look and say, what makes the most sense as a founder right now is to build your own model? Unless you have a very, very, very specialized need, it is the best time in the world ever to leverage the fact that there's an AI race happening and you can build products on top of it. So we went down that hole for about a year or so and just started getting really good at realizing what these models were capable of. We got really good at building these application layer AI products, and we were doing a bunch of client work. And the whole thought process that I had was that instead of trying to figure out what the big problem we want to solve today with AI is, like what's the number one killer product, if you looked at the market in 2023, you saw all these companies raising tons of money to build a very specific product. And then you went through this age. The two big sort of like boogeymen in the room of AI in 2023, early 2024 was A, you're just a ChatGPT wrapper. And B is the fact that every week that goes by, a new AI lab is announcing that their model got better and therefore putting all these startups out of business. So like there was like this running joke for like 3 or 4 months. Every time OpenAI or Anthropic or Google announced a model update, you would like hold your breath and be like, holy shit, am I going to be out of business tomorrow?
Like if you were trying to build your own model?
Well, what was happening is that these GPT wrappers or this idea of building an application on top of, you know, any of the models that are out there is that, well, what's going to happen if ChatGPT can now do that exact same thing?
Okay.
And so I'll give you a really good example was when GPT 4.0 came out. So GPT 4.0 was essentially kind of like the first big jump after ChatGPT came out, where it was like, whoa, there's a big step difference here that's happening. I think it was in 2024. But ChatGPT 4.0 came out and it allowed you to analyze video. It allowed you to analyze images. You could do a lot of different things. There's omnimodal. So that was kind of the whole premise around it. And it immediately wiped out a whole cohort of wearable AI companies. So companies like, there's like a Humane Pin that was like a hardware infused AI product. And as soon as ChatGPT 4.0 came out, it just wiped out all those startups. And so what was happening is, you know, every few months, the models would get better. Well, now it can do image. Okay, well now every single startup.
And then it could start remembering, right? It could
start
recall
remembering
information. That was a big one, right?
Yeah, that was a big one because there were a lot of companies that were trying to build, knowledge bases or a memory sort of retrieval system that would pair with ChatGPT, but now ChatGPT does it itself. So the problem that I was facing was that, okay, I think AI is going to be really interesting. I also think that building AI products is the future. However, the issue though is that how do you go and build something with the risk that these chat systems might just go ahead and cannibalize your feature set? And so what I determined was that instead of trying to build, so I want to build long-term, 10 plus years, but instead of trying to build a product by making a prediction on where things are going to be over the next 3, 4, 5 years, I find that to be impossible. because we don't know where AI is going to be in the next 2 years, let alone 3. So anybody making predictions on AI right now, 3 years out,
because of how rapidly it's growing, right?
Because it's moving so damn fast.
Yeah.
I remember, I was doing some talks and they had just started launching the image stuff. Midjourney was getting kind of hot, and DALL-E and all these different image models were coming out, and they were just absolute trash. And some people were like, oh my God, we're going to have a real issue with deepfakes. And other people were like, no, it's so ass that it'll be years before we ever have to worry about AI making fake images. And what they would cite were things like, have you seen the fingers? Oh my God, it can't figure out fingers. And they would see things like that and then think that we were like years away from it ever being figured out. And like less than 6 months later, you have these models that are making things that are indistinguishable from humans. So to try to predict where AI is going to be more than 2 years out, to me, is completely irresponsible, because it's moving way faster than we think it is. And there could be a new breakthrough that just completely shifts the direction in which we go in with AI. So the long story short was that I wanted to be in AI. I wanted to do over the course of 10 years. I like the idea of building products that are built and leverage these existing models. And I'm absolutely terrified of a scenario of building something that takes a year or 2 years to go to market, because I truly believe that the odds of you being disrupted while you're still trying to bring your product to market is incredibly high. And so what we settled on was that we want to, over the next 2 years, so if we have a 10-year plan, the first phase, which is 2 years, is instead of trying to make a guess at what the big knockout punch is going to be, what's the best possible thing that you can do with AI, I just want to get really, really good at building and using AI. I want to develop the skills around AI. I want to make sure that we understand prompt engineering and context engineering. I want to make sure that we understand what the models are capable of. I want to make sure that we understand how to retrieve the best possible information. I want to understand that we know like what can be done, what's hype and what's not. I want to make sure that we can get these products to market quickly. And I guess an analogy you could look at is like when the App Store came out, there were probably 2 types of successful people. I say probably because I'm just kind of making this up.
Yeah.
But I suspect that there would have been, at this keynote, oh my God, we have the App Store, we're going to have apps. There were probably 2 types of people. There were the founders who were like, holy shit, I know exactly what app I am going to build. And they went off to be incredibly successful. And on the flip side, I feel like there was a group of people who were like, I don't know what the fuck app I'm going to build, but I'm going to get the best at building apps. So that way, either people have to come to us because we understand how to do it the best and actually really understand how to maximize the value from it, not just talk about the hype. And number 2, because then when the time does come, when you do see the light and you do see the big opportunity and you can make a determination on where the future is going to, or what the future is going to look like, you have all the skills to go ahead and actually build this out. So that's what DB8 Labs is. So we build niche AI products over the past, I guess it's been 12 months now, and probably for the next 12 months, where we look to identify markets that are going to disproportionately benefit from AI, because we want to go into the easy markets. There's no point in going into a market that's overly crowded that everyone's going after. There are so many ignored markets where AI can have an impact. And because we want to go into these, boring markets, a lot of people are obviously looking at those. So when we find, let's say, a market that is going to disproportionately benefit from AI, it's not our job to go in there and say, we're going to build the AI for everything within that industry. There are already giant companies raising tens of millions of dollars to try to do that. And I also think it's too risky, because I think that the broader you go with your product, the more likely it is that ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini will just absorb your features anyway. So we look for a market, and then what we want to do is find one problem in that market, a very big, obvious problem, and we want to solve that problem. And that's how we define our niche. So we find nascent AI communities, or I guess business markets that are going to disproportionately benefit from AI. And then we go and try to find one problem to solve there. And that's what we've been doing. And our goal is to launch one project a year. We want to identify the market, we want to design the solution, develop the solution, and then actually take it to market. So we actually own these products. So it's not like we're an agency doing the client work for other people. We own this. And my suspicion is that during that time, which is once again a very unique moment in time, we will be able to make a shit ton of money along the way, because these products tend to be able to be developed quite fast and are very profitable. We'll also have a few acquisitions along the way, because there are going to be bigger companies that are struggling to kind of figure out how to build teams around AI and how to move quick. And also just like, once again, the bureaucracy of trying to get AI into these large organizations. So over that time frame, we'll make a lot of money just from the businesses. We'll probably have a few of them be acquired. And then when the dust settles after 2 years, when all of this kind of like world and all these predictions are kind of now like, oh, well, actually that didn't happen, but this did, or, ooh, like, okay, we can start to settle. You can start making predictions 2, 3, 4, 5 years out. And so I want to wait and sit back, get really good at building these AI products. And then once the window starts to open on like, where is that big, massive opportunity? Well, we have a ton of experience. We have an amazing team that have been working together for a few years. We understand how AI works. We understand what it can and can't do. We understand where the opportunities are, and then we'll go sprint after that. So it's actually quite an unpopular business model, to be honest, because it's very, especially in the venture capital world, it's just very different to the mentality of, 2010 to 2020, where it's like growth at all cost and be hyper obsessive on one problem. We're on the opposite side of it. So that's what has happened since then. That's DB8 Labs. We have 2 products in the market right now. Both
real estate content.
Yes.
And the
Bark OS.
Bark. Yeah, I saw that.
That's our new one.
Hilarious.
It's good. Yeah. So we, immediately, we identified real estate, and
Right.
we don't have a real estate background, right? But we are product people. And what we did is we interviewed over 200 real estate agents once we identified that real estate was going to be a market that was going to benefit from AI quite substantially. We interviewed over 200 real estate agents, and we asked them what they hate the most about their job. And social media was a resounding the thing that stood out the most. And so we built realestatecontent.ai, launched it last year, and it's just been a runaway success. And once again, it just allowed us to figure out, okay, what can AI do and not do? Where does the real value come from? What are people going to get out of this that they won't get out of ChatGPT? What are the unique needs that agents need, real estate agents need, versus the general population who use social media? And it's just been like a hell of a ride. So, my job with the lab is not only to incubate these projects and these ideas, I also have to find founders. Like a huge part of my job is making sure that we can find individuals that can actually run these companies, because at the end of the day, the product and the idea and bringing it to market is one thing, but you need a leader. And I just, so Kyle, I don't know if you guys have met, but so Kyle Ranieri, actually a pro race car driver out of the US. He raced in IMSA, and me and him just hit it off right away. And so we made him the CEO of realestatecontent.ai, and he's just on an absolute tear. I'm so proud of that kid. Like, he's like your absolute just through and through founder, and no real estate experience, but tons of hustle, tons of social media knowledge and background. And he's just been helping agents like all across North America get their social media going. So that's been a big win for us on that one. And then recently we started looking around and seeing, okay, like, we've got our first win under our belt. What's the next one? And we had never done an app. So for us, it was like, okay, we should probably, once again, like, what are we trying to do here? It's not just about the product. It's about, we got to get good at the skills. Well, we just did a web app. So we build like a kind of a web software. We understand that. And that's not, it's still B2C because we go after individual agents, but it's a little bit more of like the B2B2C side, because we also have a team and brokerage plan. I'm like, okay, well, listen, we got to get some experience on apps. Like, we actually just have to understand how apps work. And so, ironically, I hired a couple more prompt engineers. One of our guys from True Local, so D'Angelo, was one of the team members we had at True Local. So we got the band back together with him. Nice. And then ironically, another ex-True Local employee who went off to go get a job at Microsoft for iOS development, we brought him on into the lab and just kind of like carved out this little splinter cell to be like, hey, let's try to build a viral app. And when we started looking at the markets to see where are there opportunities for viral apps and where is there an opportunity for AI to have an impact, pets. Pets have been huge. People spend so much money on their pets. We have a good experience in the space as well, because with True Local, we were entertaining raw dog food. And that's where you start to really understand that people spend a ton of money on their pets. And so Bark OS is essentially an app that allows you to take a photo of your dog, and it'll tell you. AI will actually analyze the photo. It'll look at all of the things that are happening in the photo. It'll look at all of the body posture. It'll look at the ears, the tail, the nose, the hair standing up in the back of the neck, like where the weight is leaving on the dog. So we use the vision models to go ahead and take a look at that. And then it'll actually give you an assessment of what your dog might be feeling in that moment in time. So that's just a really fancy way of saying, take a photo of your dog and you'll find out what your dog is thinking. So Bark OS, we launched a month and a half ago, and it's the app that'll tell you what your dog is thinking. And now our goal is to prove that we can also build a viral app.
That's amazing,
and
dude.
put that in our toolkit.
And I see you took a bit of like a entertainment humorous approach because you kind of made this AI generated dog that was talking about his parents giving him a task and he was doing the homework, right? Was that just to get attention and drive people into the app?
Yeah. So if you think about the lab, DB8 Labs, what is our job? It is strategy over anything else. We need to get good at developing what can work in a business, right? Because if you know business, there's no right or wrong strategy.
Yeah.
It's using the right strategy at the right time. And what does that encompass? Well, it's a knowledge of what strategies are available. You have to know what you can do. And then also the skills to deploy said strategy. You might know that the best strategy to, I'll give you an example, to launch a viral app is founder-led marketing. Well, the difference between the doers and the talkers, like how many people are like, oh man, it'd be so easy to do a viral app. You just got to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and do some founder-led marketing. Okay, well, then why aren't you doing it? Well, because you don't have the skill to actually go ahead and do that. So for us, we can conceive or come with ideas of what we think the strategies are, but we have to like actually try it. So with Bark OS, we put this under the viral app strategy. We have to be able to develop an app very, very quickly. We have to be able to iterate on the fly because once again, we want to put something out fast and then be able to get constant feedback that will determine what we build next. And it becomes much more data focused than something like realestatecontent.ai, where realestatecontent.ai is more trying to genuinely solve a problem that agents are having. So we spend a lot more time talking and actually getting sort of like the qualitative data from agents to figure out how to build the product. With a viral app, it's actually just look at the numbers. So it's much more about getting as many users on the bare bones as possible to see what they're doing, where are they falling off, what are they asking for, and then being able to build that fast. So that's part of the strategy. But another part of the strategy of a viral app is obviously social media. If you can't make social media work, then you have not punched your ticket and earned the right to then pay for ads. So a lot of people want to go ahead and jump right into ads. And I think ads are incredibly, they're great. But the problem with ads is that people don't actually seem to break down the core components of what makes a successful ad strategy. So let's talk about Facebook ads. It's two things. It's content and distribution. And people don't break that down. They are more than happy to invest in the distribution, which is essentially paying Facebook to show your ads. And of course, there's black magic and all of that, right? So how many ad sets are you running? What audiences are you doing? Are you doing custom audiences, lookalike audiences? All these different things that you can do, or you can just let Meta decide it on its own.
Yeah.
But the distribution side of it is where everybody focuses. So they'll actually take like, if you have a $10,000 a month budget, they'll literally take 80% of that budget and put it in the distribution and put no money into the content.
Yeah.
So they have this super sophisticated distribution strategy on how they're managing their ads, and they're distributing like 5 pieces of content. So it makes no sense. So to me, the thing that I like a lot about the viral app strategy is that it forces us, in my opinion, to look at organic social.
Okay.
So we want to get really, really, really good at getting eyeballs and interest on our app. And then once we've gone ahead and figured out, we call it like content market fit. So what is it that we can put out there? What is the messaging? What is the content style? What is that will allow us to figure out what will resonate best if we were to take this exact type of content and run it as ads? So back to the point of using Davos. So we use our dog Davos and we just did a bunch of AI stuff to bring him there.
That's your real dog?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So our dog, Davos, he's he's a freeloader, right? Yeah. So Davos he's such a freeloader. He just lounges around all day.
That's all
he's
dogs
lazy as shit. So we put this little story together where we're like, you know what, Davos, like we're done with you, buddy.
Yeah.
You need to get a job or get out of the house and pay rent. And of course, me and my wife are his parents. And we're just like, let's just do, like, if you look at, like, what is the founder-led growth move right now? What you do is you essentially tell the whole world that you're about to, like, embark on some journey of, like, I'm tired of the regular world and mediocrity. I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to solve this problem. I'm going to build this business. And then what does that founder do? They should just be posting every single day about every single thing that's happening in their business, what they're learning, what they're not learning, what's working, what's not. Did they post on Reddit and maybe the Reddit post went viral? Did they go ahead and decide what logo they want to do? Did they find a new tool that's going to work? Did they botch an investor meeting? That's founder-led growth. And we're just like, why don't we just make Davos the founder? Like, it's just kind of a funny idea. And so we did that for like 30 days. We were just like, let's start making this founder-led content around our dog. It might be interesting. And that was just, once again, to see, like, can we do this? Can we pull it off? And so a lot of it for us is more just exploring how these strategies can all come together to build a successful, profitable, high value business. And once again, it's just so different than the way it was back in the day. Back in the day, the strategy was come up with like an MVP, and which costs money, and go around and figure out if people like it. And then once you figure out if people like it, then you got to figure out how to market it. And that made total sense back in the day. Now it's just so different. It's so different because you can move so fast. You can test so many things. You can build stuff so quick that what you should really do is figure out how to market something. So you should figure out, can you build out a unique distribution channel? So separate from ad distribution, but I mean, like, do you have yourself a huge following on social media? Do you have either your own personal brand, or can you build theme pages? Can you build an email list? Do you have a podcast? Anything that allows you to build and own your own distribution. That's kind of like step one. If you don't have that, then you are essentially starting from scratch, which is fine, but then you would better nail the marketing message, because you can figure out very quickly if your product is going to be successful just by trying a bunch of different messages. Like, talk about a feature that you're going to build and see, does it get clicks? If you have this feature that you want to build and you are putting posts and content and even ads out there about that feature and it's getting no play, maybe don't build that feature. And so this idea of validating your business idea through marketing rather than through the time it takes to build a product and then going and sharing it with people and asking them what they think is just like a little cheat code that is now unique in this era of like the AI builder. And that's just all that we're doing, and it's fucking sick. Like, we're loving it, man.
Your approach
so much
is so
fun.
cool, man. Like the angle at which you approach these endeavors is really cool, because it's not conventional by any means, but it's extremely practical. And it's really cool for anyone that is wondering, like, so you did this, you animated your dog, and then your dog in these animated videos built Bark OS, which is the app that helps people with their dogs. So like, people watched the story unfold, and it blew up, if I'm not mistaken, right? It got quite a lot of views on social.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the exact strategy. So we realized we needed attention. So step one, we need to own our own distribution. At the same time, we have to test messaging. Okay. So we actually wanted to do the Davos thing as like, we thought that was going to be the hot, like, oh, it's like a little edgy, it could be a little viral. And the Davos videos were fine, but they weren't like the big hit. But along with that, in tandem, we cared very deeply about building out an audience of dog lovers on social media. So one thing was the brand page, the Bark OS page. But additionally, we knew that we could go ahead and just create viral content for dog lovers. And whether it's branded or not, it didn't matter. We just got to start figuring out what messaging resonates well with dog lovers. And so we tried like 3, 4, 5 different pages. And then eventually we landed on a content style that just absolutely blew up. I swear to God, like, I'm not even being biased. It's probably the most viral thing that I've seen. So we started a page called Bark Back Daily. And what we do is we just do these 9 facts about a specific dog breed. And dude, we started this page on October 30th. It has 134,000 followers right now. Every single post
is 2 months ago.
That's 2 months ago.
Yeah.
It's 2 months ago. We have on average getting like 100,000 views per video. We have Andrew Huberman, who's liked our post. Jake Paul's dad DM'd us. Hopefully he's doing okay after the Anthony Joshua fight, by the way. So Jake Paul's dad literally DM'd us looking for a dog. We have Dog the Bounty Hunter started following us. We have all of these people that for whatever reason, we just like hit the through line on the algorithm for whatever reason. People love dogs. That was the bet that we wanted to make. We think people love dogs. So we think that the content will be inherently viral. And then we tried a bunch of different content styles. A lot of them weren't working, but then eventually we landed on this one specific content style. And now we just rinse and repeat it. Like, there's nothing to change. Like, there's no innovation required. There's no nothing. The posts keep going viral. We can make a post right now on that style, and I guarantee at minimum we'll get 50,000 views. And these are like, if you go look at the engagement, it is
all organic, right?
Bro, it's all organic.
Wow.
There is not $1 that has gone into this. If you look at the shares, this page is insane because, and once again, we've never run a viral page before. We figured that this was something we had to figure out how to do. And we're just now learning it. But if you look at just the followers alone, you're like, whoa, this is like crazy. But like, okay, like, what's going on here? Then just go look at the individual posts. The views are out of control. The comments are out of control. Full blown conversations from dog lovers. Then you go look at the shares. The amount of sends that these posts get are why it's driving so much of it. Then what you'll go ahead and look at is if you look at the analytics on it, this is the most mind-boggling part is we have 134,000. Actually, I think it's like 140 something thousand right now.
Yeah.
We have under 1,000 unfollows.
Damn.
We have under 1,000 unfollows. It is absolutely insane. And then you go look at the DMs, and it's just like A-list, B-list celebrities sending us stuff, asking. Like we had, Jake Paul's dad was like, "Hey, yo, I'm looking for this specific breed of dog. I need a breeder. Can you help us?" And so what we now look at is okay, well, wait a minute. BarkOS is sick, but clearly whatever is happening on this page, we need to distill what is happening and bring that into the app, because this is the demand. This is the attention. This page here, how do you monetize it? We have no interest in monetizing the page. Like that's not a thing like, oh, like let's get sponsored at. Like we don't want to do that. But we have dog owners' attention, and we want to understand how to bring that into an app that adds value. The thing that I always say is this Andrew Huberman thing. Andrew Huberman has liked a few of this Bark Back Daily's posts. And when we break it down, like some people just be like, oh, whatever, it's not a big deal. But you got to think about this for a second. Like Andrew Huberman, like shout out, like love the man, like just listen to all of his stuff. This is like an academic professional. So you got to think about a world where he's like scrolling through Instagram and like how many theme page things do you like? I follow so many theme pages. I don't like typically like their shit. Like sometimes I do, but not really. And you got to think about this. So once again, whether it's Dog the Bounty Hunter, whether it's Andrew Huberman, I can't even think of some of the other ones right now. Oh, Marcelo Clower, the ex-president of SoftBank, is following us.
That's crazy.
And these are individuals that for whatever reason saw facts about their dog, watched the whole video, and then liked it. And I can't get that out of my head. Like I can't get out of my head that these individuals, clearly there is something about this content style that is just like, it's the algorithm loves it. It's what works. And so we are just currently trying to deconstruct the shit out of what is going on here and how can we put it in the app. So back to the whole point is that we tried a bunch of different things. So we tried the Davos AI stuff, which we thought was going to be the viral one. We thought that was going to pop off.
So that was just one of the
That was one of the
endeavors.
strategies,
Okay.
yeah. That was one of the strategies. As part of BarkOS, we had, once again, we need a brand page, we need theme pages. We also work with UGC content creators. So we have a bunch of other pages that we also have that like actual humans will go and create content for just to test different styles to see what works.
Yeah.
Because now it boils down to not only are we testing all of these different content styles, well, there is a difference between what style of content gets views and what style of content gets engagement and what style of content gets clicks and what style of content gets downloads. And before you go and blow, a ton of money on ads, we want to understand that, because what we'll then do is just take the best possible performing content styles and we'll use those as the ads. So it's just like all about, it's a beautiful time to try to build businesses when you're actually just trying to like deploy and optimize strategies, because then you just have this giant toolkit, because we've taken things that we've learned from realestatecontent.ai and brought it over to BarkOS, and vice versa. There's a lot of things that we learn about BarkOS that are going to help realestatecontent.ai, and both of those things are going to help the next one. So it's been like a really exciting time just from that alone.
That's cool, man. What a freaking awesome strategy and approach. And I think infrastructure wise, you have a phone and a laptop, right? It's very, like, the tools are not crazy complex on your end. Obviously there's AI warehouses with computers, but the data that you're gathering in such a short period of time is quite, I think it's unparalleled in history. Like the marketing data that you're able to gather in 2 months is pretty cool. And it seems like you've been busy, man.
Been busy, man. We're having fun, man. I'm lit up.
I love it.
We have a great time, and honestly, I love the team. Like, it's really cool because you can do this in such a small team. Like DB8 Labs, realestatecontent.ai, BarkOS. Like, it's all just like friends. Like, we're still under 10 people.
From my understanding, DB8 is the umbrella, right? Everything is encompassed under DB8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So DB8's the lab, and I always like to distinguish I think the biggest thing that people really need to understand. So first of all, a lot of people are probably going to hear this and be like, okay, like I want to get into AI if they haven't already, because I do think that that's where most people should be spending their time. But I think people get themselves into trouble by not being honest with themselves and understanding where in AI they can find the most success, because AI is a huge spectrum. And if you look at it on one side, the far extreme, you have like the tip of the spear, the bleeding edge. You've got these, labs that are raising hundreds of billions of dollars to develop and train foundational models and set up GPU clusters. And they're worried about energy and all the craziest stuff. So that's the Elons and the Sam Altmans, and, the Jensens and like everything up there, like Oracle, the biggest companies. That's obviously AI.
Yeah.
And then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum, the complete other side, where you have like kids on YouTube selling like AI courses on how to like prompt engineer. I mean, that's technically all AI. And there are hundreds of different notches along that spectrum, right? From like the most basic all the way to the cutting edge. And I think it's really important for people to take a look at that spectrum and decide where they want to play. Like, where can you go in on AI based on your skills, your resources, your access to capital, talent, your own desires and ambitions? Where can you actually play in that game? And where, I was looking at the space, I'm like, okay, I don't have the technical ability nor the clout to go and try to play at the cutting edge, nowhere near that. But at the same time, we've built and sold companies. We have access to talent. We have a vision. We can build product. So we probably don't have to go to the other end of the spectrum, which is like selling courses on AI on YouTube, which, by the way, still makes a shit ton of cash. So anywhere you go, you can make a lot of money. It's just figuring out where it is. So we decided that we wanted to go on the let's build niche AI products, get good at using the technology that these foundational labs are doing. So I just called it DB8 Labs. Ironically, the name DB8 was actually short for debate, because I was building a debating platform. That was like kind of the big swing that I wanted to do. And when we pivoted deeply into AI, it just sounded cooler to go with DB8. And I wanted to say labs because I think labs actually at the time, we were going to call it studio or something like that. But I just think that, once again, there are a lot of people like myself who want to play in AI, and there's so much value that could be created. And at the time, everyone who was building AI products on top of AI models was being discredited. And I wanted to prove that, like, yo, listen, no, we're not training our own foundational models, but we are going to actually extract a lot of the value that AI is capable of by building these application level products on top of AI. So yeah, we're our own lab. We're doing our thing, and we want to be one of the best in Canada at building AI applications on top of these AI models.
I love it. Mark, give me 1 sec. Cut that. So beyond that, I'm thrilled to see that and the evolution of that, and I'm sure there will be more to come. I want to kind of shift into you as an individual, and you have a very cool mindset. You have a very your mindset I feel like it has a lot of momentum. You carry a lot of momentum in your conversation, in your moves, in your ability to bring people together and bring ideas together. So I'm curious, can you share what is it like to cultivate a mindset for optimal performance and optimal to you as an individual, and how can that maybe apply? How can people cultivate a mindset for optimal performance that works for them specifically?
Well, I mean, like that's kind of the unique side of it, right? Like, I think the reason I am the way I am is because I really just kind of stay in my own lane. Like I do the things that I want to do based on what I want to do and how I want to do it. And I think that because I've kind of like carved out my own lane, it is really easy to stay authentic and play to my strengths. And I'm at a point in my life now where I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. And I'm also at a point in my life at 35 where I know what I'm good at and I know where my weaknesses are also. So I think like just a couple things is like, I think people should focus mostly on that, less about how I do it and what I think, but more about realizing that the reason I am the way I am today is because I've just like leaned 100% into myself. and what I like and what I'm good at and all these different things. So I encourage people to do the same. I think instead of trying to be what you think other people are and why they're successful, you will realize that if you just double down on yourself and your own personality traits and how you want to live life, you will find the same level of success. It's not about one person's strategy or mindset being better than somebody else's. It's just that they are probably doing a better job of expressing who they are and what works for them better than you are. And if you try to match what they do, you will never match them because they are doing what they're doing and you're trying to copy that. Whereas if you go double down on what you want to be doing and how you want to operate, you can be a one of one and find success. So that's kind of like a high level side of it, but like breaking it down more tactically, I think it's just realizing like right off the bat that we need to get out of this victim mindset. And that is like the most contagious and dangerous thing, in my opinion, that has happened over the past like 5-6 years of everybody just saying, oh, it's not your fault. You know, the world happened to you. You know, the reason you're not successful is because you got screwed out of this, or, you know, the system didn't set you up for success and that's why you suck. Like, no. Like if you right off the bat have that mentality, there is no way you can ever find success in life. And I think that early on, because like I didn't start with many advantages in life, I just started with the baby steps. Like I started with really low goals and really low ambition, but then as I started achieving those low goals and low ambitions, that just started compounding confidence, right? It's not like I woke up and I was who I am today. Like it's 35 years of trying really, really hard at a lot of things and failing at a lot of them, but then also realizing that if I just, you know, push that extra percent, you know, if I'm doing my own thing, you can find victory, you know, relatively easily if it's just you, and just going after your own thing and getting some of those wins could be beneficial. And then you start to learn the lesson that if it's you versus somebody else, well, you realize that it's your work ethic versus their work ethic. And work ethic could be a lot of things. It could be like what we were talking about earlier, which is like, do you have enough knowledge to understand what is required to win the game? And you can develop that knowledge through research and talking to people and collecting information. And then it comes down to the ability to actually deploy those skills. And now that's the second part, which is, do you have the skill? You have the strategy and the knowledge, but then do you have the skill to actually accomplish that strategy and knowledge? And you take both of those things and then you layer on the upper part, which is, are you willing to do it more than that person beside you is? And when you start to break things down in that way, like life gets really easy. You essentially realize that by default, you can accomplish anything. By default, you can accomplish anything if you deconstruct it as, okay, well, this thing that I want to accomplish requires these steps: knowledge, skill, work ethic. Am I willing to layer on the required knowledge? Am I willing to learn the required skills? And am I willing to put in the required effort to accomplish this goal?
Yeah.
And I think that I believe that now today. But for anybody listening who is trying to get something out of this, they need to realize that that only came through like L after L after L after victory after L after L after victory after victory after L after victory, L. Like it's just a nonstop game. And once you play it enough and you start to realize what allowed you to win certain things, big or small, and then you play the game long enough to see what allowed you to take L's, big or small, and then realize that really at the end of the day, you are in full control of everything there. Like you could choose to play a game that is completely stacked against you, completely. And there are going to be people who then lose that game and decide to bitch and complain and blame everybody else. And then there are other people who decide to lose that game and say, damn, that was a hard game. I did go into that game really hard and I knew that it was going to be hard and I didn't over prepare like I should have because I knew I was at a disadvantage in that game. And therefore I lost because of me. And I think that's actually entrepreneurship. That one probably is like the game where all the cards are stacked against you and you have to put in this like disproportionate work ethic to get it. So, I mean, like, I don't know what's super helpful in that kind of, you know, breakdown, but like, I do look at life a lot that way right now. And it's a never ending journey. I think the more experiences I get, the better human I become. And that's why I think now, after True Local sold, I'm becoming a better operator and a better businessman, and just like a better human by doing a few other things as well. Because there are little things that I pick up by being an ultra marathon runner that absolutely give me a better way of thinking about business. And there are a lot of things in business that help me with, let's say, my relationships, and my relationships help me with my business and my running and driving and whatever the hell I decide to do next. It's all just like a culmination of it. So I think that, like, if you were to summarize all that in one bucket, it's just realizing that everything you want, every single thing that you could dream of is literally 100% on the table. It's just, are you willing to put in the required energy? And once again, break that energy down to skill, knowledge, work ethic, whatever, required to achieve it. And most people just are not. They are delusional in the sense that they have this ambition and they think that it should be easy to accomplish. And therefore, when they don't get that, they get upset and frustrated. When in reality, it was just like you had a delusional idea of the work required to achieve this goal. And you have one of two things you can do: either work harder or bring down your ambition. I think we said this last time, but like, it's one of my favorite quotes. But your challenges will always match your ambition. You want to go be a billionaire? Are you willing to do what would obviously be required to become a billionaire? And I don't even know what that is because I'm not a billionaire, but like, do I want to sit down and think about that? Like, man, the things that you would need to do to be a billionaire, like the sacrifices you need to make, the sludge you would have to go through to do that is very appealing for some people. And I think a lot of people will achieve that. I personally think that I don't think that's necessarily for me. Nothing against it. When I think about, like, okay, if I wanted to go be a billionaire today, I probably would take maybe like 10 years of even more relentless obsession than it was like during the True Local days. And then additionally, a better, deeper understanding of the way the world works and where things are going. I don't know if that's where I'm at right now. Like, am I happy making $100 million? Yeah, probably. Like, that's kind of where I like to hang around that side. I did a podcast recently where I was kind of, explaining how, like, I have this, delusion that, case in point, I can do anything. And I love that delusion because, if someone told me tomorrow I had to go be an astronaut, do I think I could do it? Absolutely. Like, I genuinely believe that. The question then becomes like, okay, if we deconstruct that, what does that look like? Okay, Mark, at 35, like, how do you be an astronaut? Well, shit. Okay, that would probably be like a 30-year endeavor. And then the problem with a 30-year endeavor is now I'm like, what, 55? Are they even putting 55-year-olds in space? I don't think so. And now, because like, what, I got to go spend 10 years to learn like physics and get into like MIT, and then I got to network my way to somehow fund whatever sort of, I'm sure, handshaking type deal making thing has to happen to get even remotely considered to be part of whatever space institute you need to maybe one day get the opportunity to go into a cohort. Like, it's just like, okay, there's a pathway to get there. Yeah, like, could I do it? I'm delusional enough to think I could. Do I even want to remotely entertain the work required to do it? No, fuck no. I don't really think I want to do that.
I live by delusional optimism, to be honest. It's quite a powerful tool and it's fun. And for me, what worked was I'm not shy of a challenge. I'm not shy of putting in the work, but I started to learn that if there was something I thought I wanted to do and I was unwilling to put in the work to get there, I took it as an indication that I don't actually want that thing. And when I realized that, it was liberating because then I could relieve myself of the expectation of like, I want to be a race car driver, but fuck, I'm not willing to put in the work. I'm just not. I've seen it. I've worked with high level drivers. I'm not interested in that level of pressure. I'm interested in different things. So it was a liberating thing to let go and use it as an indicator and then shift my focus elsewhere. So what I gathered from what you're saying is to just kind of like lean into what works for you and get really good at that. And
yeah. And well, I think you just answered the exact thing. It's the self-awareness. Mm-hmm. And if you just have a really honest relationship with yourself, life unfolds for you because you will know the things that you want to do and don't want to do. Mm-hmm. People that get themselves into trouble are people that are not honest with themselves and also just don't understand the way the world works. And the reason I say that is because that means that they will fixate on goals that they will never achieve because they are not willing to do. They have a like an actual delusion in the sense of nobody, in my opinion, who has a outlandish goal but is willing to do the work, I would consider the negative type of delusion. Mm. That's an awesome thing. Like you aim the biggest thing ever. And if you can sit here and explain to me the level of sacrifice and commitment required, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that. I'm like, that's the sickest thing I've ever heard. The problem that we have is that we have people who think that they can have these ambitious goals and like have no interest or understanding in doing the work required. Those are dangerous people. I suggest you actually cut them out of your life, because those people will not only just bring you down because they will always make excuses for why they're not where they're at, but they will actually try to dissuade you from the work required to get to your goals. And if you do achieve your goals, it's just not a good environment to be in. When it goes back to this idea of the community of runners, right? Attracting the right type of people, it will repel like oil and water the type of people that have these ambitions where they feel entitled to their success without willing to put the work in. So if you think about it, where you have a at least basic level knowledge of the world and understanding what is required to achieve specific goals, and then you are honest with yourself as to whether or not you are going to put the work in to achieve those goals. I mean, like, isn't that all you need in life? Isn't that the life's compass? Because now you'll whittle down all the things that were bullshit that like sounded nice, but you're not willing to do.
Yeah.
And it'll make it hyper focused on the things that you do want to do, because you're like, this is that perfect Venn diagram of like a goal that I want and the work I'm willing to put in. Well, that's what you got to get after.
I think it's an important distinction to make too between, I embody delusional optimism, and it's interesting that you make a comparison to like a toxic delusion. But I say it in the lightest form. Like, I don't mean delusion as if I have like an unrealistic view of the world and the way things work and what's needed to get there. My delusional optimism lies in my belief that it can work and it will work. And it carries me through hard days and hard situations where I'm like, it's going to work. Fuck it. It's going to work. I don't know how. It's going to work. And then that becomes contagious. That energy then spills into my team. And they're like, okay, Ramsey believes it can happen. And then they end up figuring it out. I may not know the solution, but I can cultivate a mindset that inspires the team to find a solution. And it's been a huge reason why we've been able to pull off the level of production and infrastructure building that we've done. So it's cool to see parallels there. And I'm curious, Marc, how do you continue to live an effective life business-wise, athletically, but also have time for and energy for yourself, for your partner, for your family, for fun? How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, I mean, like, I can start, like, I think people are always interested in the relationship side, and we talked about this last time. So like, it's so cheesy. So people say this in such a cheesy way, but I think anybody who's seen like me and my wife, like, I literally married my best friend. Like, if there was nobody else in the world and I just had to spend time with one other person, it would be Irma. And ironically, I always think that you have so many stigmas around, oh my God, you're working with your spouse or you're working with your boyfriend or your girlfriend at the time. And I'm like, first of all, you aren't even experiencing that. So what the fuck do you know? Like, where are these people coming from making these comments? I'm like, you read that in like a cereal box or something. And to be quite honest, it's the complete opposite to me.
Yeah.
Because if you are in business with your significant other, then you get to share the joys and the burdens. And as you know, with business, it is filled with the highest highs and the lowest lows. And wouldn't you want to share that with the person who is your significant other? And not only just share that bonding experience, but also just be able to like be there to cope with each other. I couldn't imagine, the reason that all of my businesses have been successful is because Irma was my partner in crime in all of that. She supported me in every single step of the way and everything I wanted to do. She knew how much the stuff mattered to me. And instead of being like a nag or a burden, she was a force multiplier in every single one of those things. And you look at a scenario where it's like, I couldn't imagine a world where, like, in the depths of True Local, you know, I had the worst day ever, let's say, and I come home at 8 o'clock and I'm just fucking miserable and I just want to stare at the wall for 3 hours to let my brain drain. And I've got this naggy girlfriend being like, are we going for dinner? You said we were going for dinner. Let's go. Like, what's the situation? Because she had like a 9 to 5 and doesn't understand that, like, hey, I'm dying right now. And that to me terrifies me. And that happens all the time, right? That's like a huge issue where when you're in it together, you both come home dead. Like, you both come home being like, well, I totally get the context of what's going on. And ironically, you can just be miserable together. So, which sounds, people are like, well, that sounds horrible. And I'm like, yeah, well, it sounds horrible when you have this illusion of a relationship only being built on good times. I have the perspective that a relationship is a lifelong partnership, the highs, the lows, everything in between. So the beautiful thing is that my businesses, are a product of our relationship. So ironically, we spend all of our time together. We work from home together. We work together. We do our meetings together. We go have fun together. And it's just, that's like an integrated thing. So I think that a big part of it also becomes that I think we talked about this last time, but if you have a lot of things on the go and they're all siloed, then they are all distractions from one another. So if you have this side quest and this relationship and this business, and they are all independent, your side quest has no connection whatsoever, either the activity itself or the lessons that come from it to your relationship or your business, then technically it is a distraction from your relationship or your business. Vice versa with your relationship, vice versa with your business. But if you can architect your life in a way that they are all somewhat complementary, the business actually benefits the side quest benefits the relationship benefits the side quest benefits the business, then in fact, all of those things are additive and the sum becomes greater than its parts. That is a sick life to live. And I'm not suggesting at all that it's easy to get to that point. I'm 35 now and sold a company for $16 million. I'm just starting to really get all of this stuff working well. But to answer your question, none of it takes my energy. It is my energy. Like, this is all the same thing for me. It's all just my life. All of it has come together as an expression of where it's at. And my relationship has never taken from my business or my side quests. If anything, my relationship has made both of those things better, and it makes it so easy to be engaged as part of that relationship. And, you know, it's not anything that I have to do that takes from any of those things. Those are the things I'm not willing to do, because then it's taking my energy. So those are kind of like my 3 buckets right now that kind of just keep me lit up. In terms of friends and whatnot, I got my boys from back home, like my best friends, and they're really the only people. So if you look at my direct family, my mom, my dad, and then my best friends from back home, those are the only people that I associate with outside of work. And they're the people I want to associate with outside of work. I have no interest in wasting my time with anybody else that is not either already part of my like core group of friends from high school, my wife, my mom, my dad, or my work, like DB8. Like, that's it. Those are the only people. And so anything right now that I entertain, in terms of do I want to take this on or do I not want to take it on? If it ain't complementing any of that, it ain't happening, because then it does take my energy, and I've got too much stuff on the go right now, and it's lighting me up too much right now to take away from it.
Knowing that, thank you for being here.
Dude,
I appreciate that. It's the way you articulated not having your endeavors in your life siloed. That's such a beautiful way of putting it together, because I just had light bulbs going off in my head when you're saying that, and it's like, the reason why motorsports makes sense in my life is because it can overlap with networking and with camera testing. And the reason why the studio works is because it overlaps, and like everything kind of overlaps. So it's a really beautiful way. And again, you say architect your life. That statement is a very powerful one. And I think if you're going to take anything away from this podcast, is to architect your life. Don't just blow with the wind and go wherever, because there's so many forces, as we know. There's so many things that can push you and draw you in different directions. So to take ownership and architect your life, which is hard, yes, but just to take that leap is really cool. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. You say it as though it was like a thing, but like, you got to realize, like, this entire podcast is the perfect like synergy to all of these things. This is in no way, shape, or form like an energy drain or anything. If anything, I get to talk about, and I don't get to talk about it very often. Like, I don't do too many podcasts, and I don't talk about it often, but if anything, it's a reinforcement that I'm kind of on the right path, because we can seamlessly transition from the things that are important in my life in one flowy conversation. And it is also important to shout people out. You know, I kind of started really rethinking about how I wanted all these different parts of my life to work from a really dear, close friend. Daryl Hicks, who's the CEO of FlexPay, is a huge inspiration for me.
Okay. Do you know him, or is
I do?
Like,
yeah. He
nice.
invited me to this absolutely amazing Formula One experience that he curates, and he's got his family, his work, his fun is so intertwined. He gave me this beautiful quote. I'm going to butcher it. I'm not even going to the message across from it was like the person who does not have a differentiation between their work and their pleasure and their relationship, it's all one and the same as the person who finds true happiness. And I love watching him live life, and he inspires me every time I talk to him. And it really got me thinking a lot about how I wanted to do that. Way easier to read a quote about it than actually set it up. But it's definitely something that has changed a lot for me.
That's awesome. And you've mentioned this a few times. You mentioned tilting the universe in your favor. That's a really cool statement. Can you elaborate on what tilting the universe in your favor means to you?
Yeah. So I've said it a bunch. I love it. And I always say that I'm like, if you want to find success, you have to tilt the universe in your favor. I think I've talked about it in every hard thing I've ever done. And really it's more of a wake up call for people to realize that like nothing you want in life, there's no easy shit. You might win the lottery, but everything that you get given to you that you didn't work for is just a lottery, and you can't rely on that indefinitely. And if you have any ambitions for success, to get that success, you have to work so fucking hard and sacrifice so much to make that happen that you might as well have to tilt the universe in your favor. The universe is paying attention to every single thing happening in the world at any given time. Why the fuck should it spend any time looking at you? And why should it favor you if you are not out there screaming into the void saying, I am worthy, do me a solid, give me a sign, give me a little bit of luck, give me something. If you're not willing to put that energy out into the world at that level to scream louder than all of the other people who want to find success and are screaming and praying for this and that win and this win, why are you going to get it? So I always just try to say, like, if you want something crazy to happen, you better be willing to tilt the universe in your favor. Otherwise it ain't ever going to happen. And if you ain't willing to do that, then just don't even get started. Like only, and on the flip side of that, if you are willing to do that, if you are like, man, I would be willing to do anything it takes to achieve whatever goal. And that goal could be, I just want to graduate high school. Yeah. I just want to graduate high school. And it could be, I want to be the next billionaire. But if you're willing to put the work in, then you absolutely should get started. There should be nothing stopping you back, because I guarantee you the universe will sniff you out and you will attract the things that you need that you might not even know you need at the time, but the universe knows that you need. And that to me is just the best way to live life.
I love it. And you mentioned something, pushing against the forces of mediocrity is pretty powerful, because like you said, the systems in place don't want to necessarily, they're not saying, hey, Mark, go do this. Here's all these ideas. You're pushing, you're finding resistance. And as I evolve in my business journey, I find the resistance comes in different forms. So being armed and equipped to push against that resistance and through that resistance is super valuable, and it kind of lends itself to the things we were talking about early on today about the cultivation of that state of mind through physical endeavors, through those side quests that are kind of parallel. It's great.
Yeah, I mean,
it's cool.
You know, just on that whole idea of like, you got to tilt the universe in your favor. Like we are very fortunate as humans that we even have the ability to trade hard work and sacrifice for success. Because if you're any other animal out there, you have to trade hard work and sacrifice just for the right to live.
Yeah. Wow.
Like if you don't, like, you could tilt the universe in your favor as a gazelle to just avoid getting eaten that day. Yet we have this ability to put in hard work and success and live like literally a one-of-one life. And you need to understand very quickly that there's a reason it's a one-of-one life. You know, all of the systems that we have set up, all of the institutions, education, everything is set to just have you be a cog in the system. Every single thing around you is there to essentially bring you down. And we should be happy, because if it's the jungle, it's out there to kill you. Yeah. Whereas here, it's just there to keep you down. You know, the food industry is not keeping you healthy. The government is not making it easy to make money. The education system isn't teaching you the top of the tier knowledge. Yeah. And so you have to take it upon yourself to choose to say, I don't agree with those systems, which in and of itself is fighting it back. It's a very difficult social thing to do. And it's more common nowadays, I like to think, but it's very difficult to come out and be like, hey, everyone in my classroom or everyone in my family or everyone at my church or everyone, I'm just use church as an example, everyone at my business thinks this certain type of way, but that doesn't seem to make sense. What about this way?
Yeah.
That right there is like level one. Just like, hey, I think there's a better way. But then to actually go and do that, taking the first step, that in itself is a huge thing. And then realizing that, oh, I took the first step. Like I went to the gym once. They tell me that I only got to go to the gym and do 15 minutes of activity a day. I mean, no. You probably need to do more than 15 minutes of activity a day to be the fitness level you want. So I'm going to push back against that notion. Once again, the notion of mediocrity. I'm going to do an hour a day. Okay, and you go and do an hour on a Monday. And then you took that step, but then you got home and looked in the mirror and you didn't look any different. And you're like, oh, I got to do this a lot. Okay, well, there's the next step. So now you're pushing back against mediocrity again. So you already did the first battle of thinking differently. Then you did the next battle of doing the thing. And now you got the third battle of doing the thing consistently. And then you realize that, oh my God, there's layers to this shit. It's like, I got to go to the gym and I got to eat healthy. Oh my God, I got to go to the gym and I got to eat healthy. I got to make money to buy the healthy food.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And then I got, my friends and my family in my ear telling me to just chill out. And it's just like this non-stop inertia towards stop chasing your dreams. It's okay. Just be mediocre. And it's like, yeah, it's a lot to push back against.
It is a lot. And you mentioned something that kind of ties to this. It's compounding confidence.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting way, because normally we look at compounding in terms of money, right? We look at how money grows over time. Our brains just don't think exponentially. We think linearly. That's just kind of how we're designed. So to look at confidence as something that compounds, I think can be super practical and valuable for people listening to. Like, you can cultivate the confidence, and the confidence you cultivated this week paired with next week and next month and next year, like those all stack in good flow. And the confidence you cultivated in your first business is now carrying you through into these. And the way you approach things, it seems like you carry so much more grace through it because you have that really powerful foundation and you've already gone through a lot of the compounding of the confidence.
It was literally 2 years ago when we were on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I was doing I was talking about confidence because especially at that time, it was like confidence is bad. You intimidate other people. They're going to feel bad about themselves if you're winning. And we're telling young people, men and women, that they should just like dim their light. Like, don't do that. And I was like, never bring that shit around me. Like, the only message that we should be putting out in this world is that you need the most confidence. You have to love yourself. You have to be proud of who you are. And that, to the point of it, is the ultimate form of compounding, because all it takes is one win to give you the motivation and the confidence to get your second win. And I mean like tiny wins. Go to the gym once. You went to the gym, you did it. You now believe that you are someone capable of going to the gym. Then go to the gym for a week. Well, now you're like, oh my God, I am capable of it. And what does the universe reward you with? You look a little bit better in the mirror now. Yeah. You did the thing. And so to me, I find that like incredibly important, the power of this compounding confidence. And I think that if anybody, once again, so many people I just feel very comfortable with who I am in my own skin. And it's because I just live in my own lane. Like, that's just something that I've been very fortunate at 35. But the reason I'm saying this is because I only really started at 25. So who I am today is essentially 10 years of compounding confidence. So it's not like and of course there's so much that happened in my life before this, but I started True Local at 25. So at any point in time, like if anybody is listening to this being like, damn, like I like that lifestyle, it's like, don't worry about my mindset today. Worry about that I have 10 years of compounded confidence in my own lane that got me to where I'm at. But if you start now, man, like, and like, trust me, like I've been winning for a while now. Like, we want 5 years for True Local, so maybe even just in 5 years of you really doubling down on yourself, you might get to a point where you are like so confident in who you are and who your life is that the universe is just doing these beautiful things for you because you're living so truly the life that you're supposed to live.
That's awesome. And I am just wrapping up year 5 of Panel Media. So it's cool to hear, because a lot of what you've spoken about today about it, like 5 years is the entry price you got to pay. A lot of things aligned super beautifully this year, and things started to make sense, and like those, oh shit, that's how you do it. So it's, again, I love interviewing people like yourself on this podcast and others, because I can draw a lot of parallels. And this is actually one of my side quests. This podcast is a full side quest where I can explore other people's minds, share that with the world, but also see how that framework and your framework and other people's frameworks applies to what I'm building. And I think, and then also we can build friendships and relationships from it. So there's a lot of values and it is not siloed. So really interesting approaches. And I hope that anyone listening, and I hope you can take elements of Marc's mindset, understanding that it's been cultivated over a long period of time. If you can take elements of the energy and the mindset, I promise you will have a very interesting journey. I'll leave it at that. Marc, something I've been thinking a lot about in my business is something I'm calling financial emotional dissonance.
Okay.
And essentially it's learning to emotionally detach from money, to make bigger decisions, to make more meaningful decisions and more clear decisions as they relate to money. Understanding that you sold a business for a substantial amount of money, how has this, manifested in your life? Is it something you've had to develop to detach yourself emotionally from money in order to continue operating and stay true to yourself?
Yeah, I think there's two kind of conversations to have here. So I think like the common thought about what you're describing is actually separating money from capital.
Okay.
And very quickly, you can immediately dissociate all emotion from money if you look at it as capital. Capital is there to be deployed for whatever sort of return or reward or working capacity you want it to be. So capital is not money.
Interesting.
Money is not capital. And that it's what makes things much easier to digest. If you think about investing $50,000, that's emotional. That's like a whole ass thing. That's, you really can kind of feel the weight of that. When you think about deploying $50,000 in capital, it's just a means to an end. And so there's a whole like thought process on that. But I think I've talked to a lot of people nowadays, a lot of founders that I'm talking to are really starting to understand that a little bit more. It doesn't mean you should take less risks. Dissociating emotionally money and capital does not mean that you should be more cavalier about it, but it is allowing you to reframe the purpose of money as a instrument to potentially earn more. So that's the traditional way of looking at it. Here's how I actually look at money. And the reason I wanted to get rich, the reason I wanted to make money is because it sucks that we have to make all of our life decisions with the number one question being, can I afford it? And that's just the way the world works. There's no way around it. But we don't make the best decisions for our lives because they are the best decisions for our lives. We make every single decision as to whether or not we can afford it. And if there is any one reason to go secure the bag, it's so that you never have to make decisions based about money ever again. And instead, you can make every single decision based on what's best for you, your family, your friends. So where do you live? Arguably, the biggest decision you're ever going to make outside of who your spouse is where you're going to live. What is the number one thing that is the variable as to where you live? How much does it cost? Where can I afford? Do I have a job there? That is, none of those things are actually what's best for your life.
Yeah.
What you actually want to live is, where's there the best opportunity? Where are my friends? Where does the weather make me happy? Where can I raise a family? Those are the things that you should be asking about where you live, but we have to have a money conversation about it. Okay, food, right? The number one conversation about food shouldn't be, can I afford the organic or can I not afford the organic? Or can I afford to have this type of raw whatever? No, it should be, what is the healthiest thing that I enjoy the most? It shouldn't be a money conversation, but so many people have to make their food decisions based on how expensive it is. When it comes to supplements, if you are big into supplements of any capacity, everyone should be taking supplements. First of all, everybody should be getting their blood work done on a quarterly basis, in my opinion. But why don't we? Well, there's obviously the stigma of being scared of what you might find, but a lot of people, especially in Canada, we say we have free healthcare, but we also have to pay $300 to get blood tests done. They can't afford it. So does it make sense to get your blood test done every quarter? Absolutely. Why don't people do it? Because it's an affordability thing. When it comes to supplements, whether you take supplements or don't take supplements is not typically of what is best for my health. It's, can I afford it? Then let's say you are taking it with the quality of the supplements. Everything, every single thing, every decision is never about what's actually best for you. It's what can you afford? And I think that, by the way, I'm not even talking about the big things. I mean, like just the general small things in life. Do you have like a water system in your home? Right? Like it's fact. Tap water is not great for you. The only reason you would not have a water system in your home is because you got to pay for it. But if you think about it, when someone came to your door right now and said, hey, I'll put a water system in your home, you're not thinking, oh, is it good for me? Is it not good for me? What do I want to do? You're like, I just can't afford it.
Yeah.
So I think that like right off the bat, the money game is just like your cost of living type stuff. You just want to make money so that you never have to make a decision based on money versus what is best for you, your family, your friends, and whatever you want to do. And just to be clear, I know that's a gift. That's the reason. It's why it's an ambition that you should work towards. But that to me is the biggest, unfortunate scenario that the rat race gets you in, is that you are making these incredible life decisions based on what you can afford versus what is actually good for your life. Another one is relationship. I actually learned this one early on because I remember when I was working at my job, I was in university, and my job took me to London, Ontario, but it took Irma to Ancaster. And I remember being like...
Is that in Canada?
Yeah. It was just like near Hamilton. But still, like, we want to be in the same city.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, thank God we're just like a couple hours away. But like, what if my only financial opportunity was in like BC and hers was in like the US? Are we making a decision as to what's best for our life? No, we're making a decision based on what we can afford and what's happening. And that sucks. That just sucks. And so I think if anything, the number one reason and goal that people should just go and try to get money is so that they can start to live a life where it's not even about the luxuries. It's just, it allows you to live a life where you are doing what's best for your life, not what you can afford.
Really, really cool distinction between capital and money. And I think early on setting up my business as a corporation, not necessarily knowing that's what was happening, but it forced me to separate my personal finances and my business finances. And when I deployed the business finances, it was a journey of detaching emotionally. And I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into building what I've been building. And each time learning more about the emotional relationship. But then you talk about making decisions in life. I actually think it doesn't require that much money to make those decisions. I think it just requires intentionality and withholding from buying dumb shit. And you can actually do what you describe. And I've learned that in my life. It doesn't cost astronomical amounts of money to live well, eat well, and be happy with what you have. It's just, again, withholding from dumb stuff and making some pretty smart things that evolve your resources and your infrastructure you have available to you of how you run your life. And that's personal to everyone.
Yep.
Amazing. Mark, I feel like we could talk for like literally hours. We've been chatting for a couple hours now. And I know we teased the guests in the beginning of the episode with a huge announcement.
Yeah.
On top of this huge conversation. So can you tell us, Mark, what did you recently, what's coming out in 2 weeks? And, what did you recently just do as an individual?
Yeah, so big punchline here is that as a lot of people know, True Local was on Dragon's Den in season 12. We got to deal with Michelle Romanow, and Dragon's Den's been like a huge part of my life. Actually, the show was just insanely supportive.
I didn't know that. I didn't know True Local was on Dragon's Den.
Yeah, True Local was on Dragon's Den. We got to deal with Michelle back in 2016. I want to say season 12, episode 13. And like that was a show I watched growing up as a kid, right? That's like cool, I think a lot of entrepreneurs in Canada were inspired by Dragon's Den. And we were really fortunate because we had like a ton of follow-ups. Like we were one of the most featured businesses on Dragon's Den. Just year after year, we had all these follow-ups. And so this insane full circle moment. So I'm actually going to be showing up in the last 2 episodes of this season 20, as a dragon on Dragon's Den. And that's just been something that when you realize that I'm this kid who literally almost failed out of high school, who was like a C's get degrees kind of student, who stumbled into entrepreneurship, who so many people counted out and so many people thought was just crazy, bad business ideas, not able to execute, to go get a deal on Dragon's Den, then go sell the company, and now come back as a dragon on Dragon's Den. Like for me personally, that is just like probably one of the sickest accomplishments that I've had so far, just because of like the, I guess, entrepreneurial message that it's putting out there. So that's going to be coming out last episode in February and the first episode in March.
That's amazing. And it'll be, we're at the time of recording this, it's December 2025. You said January of 2026 is when it'll start to become
January 8th.
January. It'll
Yeah,
be
so-
published,
Yep.
and the world will know about it.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And so Dragon's Den it's a panel of investors, right? And people come and they pitch their businesses.
Yep.
And so as an investor on Dragon's Den, like, so you're investing your own money, right?
Yep.
Like
Oh, yeah.
you're on there. And is there any sort of like prerequisite there? Like, Mark, how much money do you have? Like, you need to come on the show with this minimum amount to be able to actually invest.
No, I think there's like the spirit of being an investor. Like the
Right.
best part about being a dragon on Dragon's Den is that we get access to some of Canada's top entrepreneurs. Like we want to be investing. It's
Right.
ironic because I always tell people this, and this was a big wake up call for me when I used to pitch investors, was that you always think investors are looking to say no. You're like, oh, investors are always going to say no because they're used to getting no's. But you got to reframe that. Investors are always looking to say yes. Anybody who's looking to invest wants to find a great founder and a great business to invest in.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of an honor to be on Dragon's Den because at the end of the day, you get access to the best deals, some of the best founders. And so, yeah, so I wouldn't say there's like a prerequisite, like you have to be balling, like you have to have money so that you can go and actually deploy the capital. But it's also like being able to add value just outside of that also. Like what kind of connections can we open up? How can we actually help these businesses grow? And I think that this series, so-called Full Circle for Dragon's Den, is really extra inspiring because it's people that went through Dragon's Den and have been through it. Because, you know, I would make a suspicion, but I remember when I was on Dragon's Den, I used to like whisper in the producer's ear, like, I'm gonna be back here one day as a dragon.
That's amazing.
And I'm sure everybody says that, right? Like everybody goes through it. So to like actually kind of see it happening, like I was pumped. I'm excited. I got a deal with Hornet Energy. Absolutely love those kids.
Which is a product that I use
Yes.
regularly, like
Yeah.
for running and biking.
Yeah.
It's really cool that you're like, you've been involved with them now or are involved with them.
Yeah, no, the absolutely great kids. So Madi and Jeremy, we were talking about them a little bit earlier. Just like bona fide entrepreneurs. I'll never forget. Like I obviously the people that I'm looking to invest in are people that are like me. Like I invest in a founder. I care deeply if they have a chip on their shoulder. Everybody invests in different people for different reasons, and I think that's what makes a good investor. And for me, I just need a kid that has like the biggest chip on the shoulder. I need someone that is angry at the world for whatever reason. They've got something to prove wrong. And the business is completely secondary to me. But if I see somebody there who has glimpses of being a winner, somebody who no matter what happens, they're not going to stop, and maybe with a little bit of guidance and a little bit of money, they might get to where they're going faster. That's who I want to get in on. And I remember I felt like this is the deal that I wanted to do before even finishing the pitch, because the kid was like, we're talking about making money and just like, you know how it is, like someone says it with their chest, and I was like, how did he say it? He's like, I'm like, when are you going to be rich or something? He just said like, I'm not rich yet. And there's just something about the way he said, you know, when like you look at like rappers and stuff, like you could give some rap lyrics to somebody else and they could sing the exact same, it doesn't sound, doesn't feel the same way. Like it has to come from the soul. Like it has to like resonate with the universe. When this kid said that, I was like, yo, this is one of them. So for me, like I get excited about looking and trying to work with those types of founders. And yeah, just like an absolutely like, yeah, just an amazing experience overall.
That's really cool. And it's
Yeah.
a similar approach I take to when I'm recruiting people for bigger productions or hiring them onto our team. It's the attitude. The attitude means more than the skill to me. Obviously there's a base level of skill required to like get into the conversation, but once you're there, it's like, do they have an attitude of growth? Do they believe in themselves? Are they enthusiastic? How do they view the world? Are they optimistic? So all of those things kind of play a role. So it's cool to see you kind of bringing that into a freaking like national iconic TV show. And I'm sure the production was really, really interesting.
It was epic,
It was like the highest level of production aside from like film, but like in the television space, like you're in big studio. Can we share some photos?
Yeah, of
We'll
course.
put some photos in here.
Yeah, it was awesome, honestly. And I think, you know, once again, kind of looking at it where, you know, I'm just trying to shift the face and the look of entrepreneurship, because if you look at like a successful entrepreneur traditionally, it's not going to be me. Like it's going to be your typical, you know, dude in a suit or doing whatever. And I like it because, back to my own lane, if people can kind of look at what I've done, I've found traditional success, but I wear it very differently. And I think that it might inspire other founders to realize that, like, yo, success doesn't discriminate. Like a winner is a winner is a winner, right? And I think it's really cool that just that alone is going to get showcased out there. And I think that's kind of what I get excited about bringing to the table, is just showing that, hey, yo, listen, like, you don't have to fit into any mold whatsoever. Most of the people that are successful entrepreneurs do not fit in a mold. They have their own style. They have their own vibes. They believe something that other people, or just the majority of society, deems to not be common knowledge, not be the right way of doing something. So the production itself was out of this world. Of course, you know, it's we do 2 days of filming, and you're trying to absorb as much of it as possible. But it's hard because you're kind of like walking through a dream, because it's all moving so fast, right? Like, you know, when things are occurring where you are part of it, you are not it. And what I mean is, like, there's a schedule, things are happening, it happens at this time, it's going through. So you're being dragged through this process, and the entire time you're just trying to like take all of it in. They did such an amazing job of making us feel special, coming back and just like really honoring the moment of like, wow, this is like Canadian entrepreneurship at its finest. Like, these complete and total underdogs have now gone through, did what I consider, I used to talk about this all the time, whether or not you want to be on Dragon's Den for an investment. I believe that all founders should try to go through Dragon's Den, because it's a bit of a rite of passage where you get to go and kind of validate your ideas. You get to talk about your friends, and, you know, you can kind of do your little pitches and talk about your business behind closed doors. But when you go on the national stage, when the cameras are running, it forces you to perform. So you have to actually walk the walk when you talk the talk. So to have people that have gone through that and then come out the other side and actually end up as dragons on the show, they did such an amazing job of just making us like really feel that moment, and also the power of the show too. You know, if you were to go back over the past 20 seasons, the amount of millionaires that have come through Dragon's Den is, there's no other better accelerator, incubator sort of opportunity than getting on the show. So that's a really cool experience as well. You know, it's, yeah, just the whole thing was very, very surreal. It's funny because we're in town right now just filming like a documentary as well. And we had to go back to my old high school where I spent most of my time in detention. And
Documentary about you?
Yeah, we're just doing a documentary about UTMB.
Oh, cool.
So the run, yeah,
Sick.
the run, yeah. So that'll be a good one. But we got to go back and meet up with some of my old high school teachers, and it is crazy. Like, you know, I'm from Cornwall, right? Like, it's a small town.
Yeah. Hour from Ottawa.
You know, entrepreneurship isn't, you know, Cornwall's not known for entrepreneurship. And I struggled a lot as a student, you know, academically and socially. And outside of, you know, my mom, a lot of people counted me out. And there were a couple teachers that like really got behind me, and just, even when I was like being a little shit eater and just like always causing problems. And once again, you know, looking at how I just brought all the problems on myself for the most part at that stage of my life, there were a few teachers that just really like stood behind me and believed in me and helped me get through that phase of my life and get into grade 11 and 12 where things started to turn around. But it was just like a very sort of full circle experience, because once again, we're getting ready to start promoting the Dragon's Den specials. And now I'm back in my hometown in high school being like, man, the things, the edge that we were playing with, where like if one decision was made in this direction, I think everything could have been different, like for the worst part. So it's been like a very a nice, I guess, holiday season, just kind of getting ready for all this. And my hope is that when these episodes air, there's such amazing companies that came on the show. It's such an amazing opportunity to kind of highlight, like, you really can start from absolutely nothing. There is no prerequisite for success. I hope that a lot of people just see that, and that's what they take out of it more than anything, is just like, wow, this dude who like does not fit any conventional mold. Like, if you looked at Marc Lafleur and took all my success away, you'd be like, there's no way that we're ever giving this guy any camera time. There is no way that we're ever investing in this guy. There is no way, like, everything about what he does is against the grain. And I think that the only thing I've done is prove out that that can work. And it's just sick now that I've just been given the stage to kind of hopefully have some other kid look at me or look at the story and be like, damn, like, I didn't think that I could go down this entrepreneurial route because I was told I wasn't smart enough, or because I was told I didn't know how to code, or because I was told that I had to go do this other thing, or because I was told entrepreneurship is stupid, or because someone told me that my business idea is dumb. I actually just hope that they might take anything out of my story and be like, no, fuck that. Like, this guy did it completely against the grain. If he can do it, I absolutely can do it. So that's kind of the thing that I got out of the Dragon's Den experience, was just being able to do that, to be quite honest. And the fact that I get to work with the Hornet guys. I love those guys.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's cool.
And again, I think we're probably going to rejoin each other at a future point in time to discuss even further evolution, but I appreciate so greatly that you've become a beacon of inspiration for people. And you make yourself available in the sense that you put content out there. You go and you speak publicly. You do things for the community. You reach back out to people that inspired you, like your old high school teachers, and you make yourself and your mindset available. Even coming on this podcast twice, I appreciate that greatly, because now I can share the mindset that you have through our conversation with people that may not have ever known who you are. And you're local. I consider Cornwall part of Ottawa. Like it's an extension of Ottawa. Yeah, it's down a couple of farm fields over there, but it's very much a part of Ottawa. And to know you and to share this story, it's an honor. So thank you, Marc. I think this is a nice place to end this show. This episode, actually, episode 41, if anyone's wondering. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate you too, man. I love, like I said, I don't do a ton of podcasts, and if I have a conversation, I want it to be meaningful. I want it to be something that, we can really go deep on things. And bro, I love having these conversations with you. So we're 2 for 2. I'm sure it will not be the last.
2 for 2.
And yeah, man, I'm excited. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thank you to everybody watching, listening. As a reminder, this podcast is powered by Pano Media, which is a commercial video production company. We are inside of Midnight Hour Studios, and you are watching The Creatives Podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace. Good shit, man.
Good one, man. How's it going?